Welcome back to Waste Some Time with Jason Green. I am Jason Green. It's Wednesday, and we've got a little bit of a different show today. I'm going to be joined by Sean Clark in just a little bit. And for those of you who might not know Sean, he goes by Malfunsean on YouTube. He hosts a show called Horror's Hallowed Grounds, which is a really cool thing where you go to locations where horror movies were filmed. I was always fascinated by the same things. Growing up in New York City, I always wanted to see the locations where my favorite movies were filmed. I used to take pictures, and then when I got this channel, started doing some video of those things. So he's also he's a convention booking agent. He books a lot of the people from the movie Halloween, and he's involved in the upcoming Halloween 45 convention. This is going to be the ultimate convention if you're a fan of the Halloween movie. So anyway, Sean will be here in a little bit. We're going to talk rock, we're going to talk horror, we're going to take your questions. I hope that you guys have been enjoying the tour diaries. Since I've last seen you, I've updated just about every day. The Monsters of Rock Cruise, 5-part series, very popular. People are enjoying it. So I'm glad, and I decided if you like it, I'm going to keep going. The views are up, and the channel is up, and we need to keep that. So I'm going to keep uploading videos. You'll have a new tour diary tomorrow. I have enough content to give you a tour diary every single day. And so let's see how long I can do that. We got a lot of people here tuning in, and we're going to talk about some horror, some rock and roll. We'll talk about what's coming up on this channel as well, and we'll do that right after this. Just wanna waste some time with you. Sometimes it seems too good to be true. Nobody out there can waste time without you. All right, tomorrow on the show, brand new tour diary. It was filmed in Houston, Texas. It is the worst hotel experience I've ever had. The only time I've had to raise my voice and be argumentative and a hothead and ask for a manager. That's tomorrow. Slaughter is in it too. It's a fun little tour diary. So you're going to watch that tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Then a Friday interview with Steve Riley. He's going to give us the track by track of each song on the new Riley's LA Guns record. Next week, I'm going to be in Los Angeles to see the band The Cure. I'm always searching for The Cure. It's going to be, so I'm there for 3 days at the Hollywood Bowl. So I will not be able to go live Wednesday. So instead, I will bring you an interview with Wednesday 13, which is a lot of horror in that one too. But that was singer for the Murder Dolls, if you weren't familiar. So that's going to be on Wednesday. Coming up soon, Richie Ramone of the Ramones, Odie Desborough of Great White, the band Shiraz Lane, which is a cool Finnish band that I think you'll like, and Billy Childs from Britney Fox, and so many more. It's really hard to keep up. But Michelle tells me that I have 10 of these picks left. We've sent them to all the Patreons, new and old, whoever's on there. So this is from the cruise. So there's 10 of them. Anyone who signs up for Patreon tonight, we'll send them one. Or I don't know if you're the top couple super chats. I don't know. Jay Sin City Photog is modding, and so is Michelle. So if you guys keep a track, we got 10 of these picks to give away to people. If anyone the highest few super chats, Patreons, whatever, let's give it to the people, and then those will be gone and never printed again. Okay, I'm going to try to read some of your questions before Sean gets here, because last time Sean and I spoke, we were on the phone. We spoke for 6 hours. So who knows how long this can go. Okay, and it is halfway to Halloween. That is what we're celebrating. Okay, let's see here. Rob, good to see you. 81 Shovelhead from Minneapolis. Good to see you. Janice is a member. You can be a member too. Go to the front of this page and hit join. Jason is a member. Thank you. From Wisconsin. Happy Wednesday from Scott Fowler. Rocking Roger says to me and Sean, we're the only 2 YouTubers that I'm subscribed to. This is going to be great. Well, I'm glad, Roger. It's going to be good for sure. Brian, also a member. So you get those cool little things when you're a member. Lisa wishing us a happy hump day. That is the day. Yeah, the original Wednesday live show. I guess there's some guys doing a Wednesday live show now also, I'm not familiar. Listen, I didn't invent this rock and roll podcast. I didn't invent the tour diary, although mine are the most successful. But yeah, listen, everyone can do what they want. Golf cart from hell. If you saw the Key West episodes, you would see that Johnny and I were held for ransom after hitchhiking. Let's see. The Keys were great. Yes, there was some crazy moments, but Key West was outstanding. You can watch those too. Love the tour with Robert the Doll. Robert the Doll was definitely an interesting episode. I feel like I handled it properly, and I feel like I'm okay. So I'm glad you guys are liking these tour diaries. A lot of positive words. Here's Donna. Hi, Donna. How are you? And Christopher. And so we're yeah, people want more tour diaries. Well, I'm going to keep filming them. I was almost going to stop. I almost thought that maybe it was getting boring. Maybe you got tired of seeing bad hotels and whatever else. Spirit Medium. Daniel is also a member. Thank you so much. There's George. Joe Mannix likes Hollywood cemeteries. I've been to all of them. Uh-oh, Sean's having trouble getting on. So hold on. He texted me. But see, the problem is I use my phone as a what do you call it? Anyway, hold on. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up the beginning list of Halloween 45 while I try to work with Sean. So this is how we're going to do this. Nothing like live television. Okay, here we go. You guys are looking at the Halloween 45 list, the beginning of the convention that Sean's involved with. I'm going to check his text while you guys do that. Let's see here. Hold on. I'm just sending him the link again. Because right now they're asking him for $5.99 to join. Even Sean, we're trying to get some dough out of. Anyway, Halloween 45. Take a look at that. If you're gonna be a fan, you want to come to Pasadena. A lot of people don't realize that Pasadena or South Pass, as they're very picky over there. People like to make sure if you're from South Pass, you say South Pass. Anyway, South Pass. That's Haddonfield, the real heart of Haddonfield. And Sean runs these tours during this convention where he will take you to the places where the movies were filmed. And you got to get in on that early because it sells out. I'm going to go myself. I've been to most of those locations, but it's worth seeing. So you'll excuse me, guys, while I just work this out with Sean. I'm sure he'll be here very soon. And Sean, if you're listening, I just emailed you the link again, and I'm going to try texting it one more time too. This is the link. Oops, no, I just texted you your own. I just texted you your own email. So hold on. We're getting there, folks. Talk amongst yourselves. Talk amongst yourselves. Invite guests. All right, that should work. Now, hopefully Sean won't have any further problems. Put that right there. All right, hold on. I think Sean is here, so we got that part. Now I just got to get my camera back. And let's see how I do that. There's that. And then we go to that. All right. I think we got it. Nope, hold on. One second, folks. General, camera. This only happens to me. All right, hold on. Almost there. But we're giving a lot of time to Halloween 45, so you guys are having time to study. You know? Let's see. This is exciting stuff. Just give that one more second. All right, we got it fixed. Here we go. And Sean is here. I bet this never happens to the big guys. All right. Anyway, let's. We talked about Sean a little bit, as you know, and him and I have had so many similar interests. And a friend of mine told me you got to check out Sean Clark's channel and his content. And I don't really watch too much on YouTube. I find a few people that that I like, and I start watching. I saw his series, Horror's Hallowed Grounds. That's bad if you have a stutter. And I realized that I had done a lot of the same things growing up. Sean and I are around the same age. And I was really interested in going and finding movie locations. When I was a kid in New York, everywhere you walked, they were filming a legendary movie, Ghostbusters, or I'll never forget seeing Telly Savalas filming a Kojak movie. And so I always wanted to trace where famous things were filmed. There was no internet to do such a thing. Now you can Google pretty much anything and find it. But Sean does an amazing job of not just finding locations that people know about, but finding ones that, really had to do a lot of research, matching things up. And you've got to ask questions and have some guts, which Sean does, which will explain some of the places that he's gotten into. So anyway, so I was watching his channel and we started to chat because we also had gone to so many of the same movie conventions and things like that, that it's funny, we must have run into each other so many times been in the same place at the same time and not even known it. So anyway, let's not waste any more of his time. Let's bring in Sean Clark.
Hello.
How are you, Sean?
I'm dandy.
Now I know why these guys like Am the Woo don't go live. There's just too many problems.
I have problems. I'm so technologically challenged. I always have issues every time we do one of these things. So,
yeah, well, you're here now, and everyone's excited. And so, Sean, I want to kind of go back to the beginning because it's funny the similarities that we have. The first time I really knew about movie locations was, like I was saying, they were filming some Kojak TV movie. It must have been in 7th grade, and we got to see Telly Savalas filming in Inwood Park in Manhattan. And then I was an extra on a TV show called, I think it was called Tattingers, with Stephen Collins. And Stephen Collins was in it, and Blythe Danner was in it, and Jerry Stiller. And it seemed like it would have been this great thing. I was a fan of that show, Tales of the Gold Monkey. You remember that one, right, Sean?
No, I don't recognize that.
Tales from the Gold Monkey was an Indiana Jones kind of ripoff, starring Stephen Collins as an Indiana Jones character, and it was filmed on the Universal lot. And so so he was like a hero of mine. He's had some issues as of recent. I wouldn't recommend booking him for any shows. But so anyway, I got so obsessed with it, and when I would go see movies like Ghostbusters, I would realize that that's not too far from my house. So what was it for you that you decided I want to go visit the places where these famous movies were made?
Well, I think it started for me in 1993 when I went to my first out of the state convention, which was Zombie Jamboree in Monroeville, Pennsylvania. And it was directly across the street from the Monroeville Mall where they shot Dawn of the Dead. And when we were super excited to go there, and when I went and me and my friends were walking around the mall, there's just this surreal experience of nostalgia and memory, but from a place we'd never actually been. You'd seen the movie so many times, it's all familiar to you, but it feels like an old childhood home or something, like you're going back to a place that you've been before. And just that feeling was such an adrenaline rush that I think it just led me on a path to find more. If I can go here, maybe I can go to the Myers house, maybe I can go to the Elm Street house, and it just started my quest.
Yeah, you grew up in California, right?
Yeah, I was born in Anchorage, Alaska, actually. But I moved to Southern California. My parents moved to Southern California when I was 6. So I've been here since 1976.
Yeah, that's prime time to be in Southern California. A lot of cool things
Yeah.
happening. What would you say is the first horror movie that you saw that changed that sort of made you become what you are now?
Well, I mean, the movie that made me what I am today, hands down, is Halloween. Everything that I do, every bit of success I've ever achieved is directly connected to that film. It's so crazy. If you follow my path of where I've gotten to today, it's all because of that movie. But the first, I don't know, the first horror movie I saw that made me really fall in love with horror. God, that's a good question. I don't know. I think from as far back as I can remember, seeing Jaws in the theater as a little kid just, blew me away and freaked me out. And I just loved that adrenaline rush. I feel like we're always trying to recapture that adrenaline, that fear that we had as a kid. And unfortunately, it's unachievable now as an adult. And that's why we revisit those films, just trying to get a little, like, remember what it was like. But when you're a kid and it's all new to you, when you see it for the first time, it affects you in a different way. Just like walking through a haunted house the first time as a kid, like a haunt, like a Halloween haunt kind of thing. You're terrified. First time I went on Haunted Mansion at Disneyland, I was terrified. Now, it's funny, it's fun, it's kooky. But you're always trying to chase that dragon, that adrenaline scare factor. And it's been years since I've had it, for real.
Yeah, it's definitely hard, and you're right. It's not just that we're chasing the scare, but we're also chasing that nostalgia, how crazy it was the first time we saw Halloween. For
Mhm.
me, it was on television, but to see that pumpkin burning on TV and hearing that music stayed with me forever. To the point that most of us every Halloween have to watch those movies and see that image. I sometimes wonder what my parents were thinking to let me watch as much stuff as I did. When I was
Yeah.
young, and I'm sure it's the same for you, Starlog magazine and Fangoria magazine would be your sort of news source for a lot of these horror. My cousin was a little bit older than me, and he would
Mhm.
hang up like George Romero zombie pinups like they were Playboy playmates. He was so
Yeah.
excited to have that, and so I sort of was following in that footsteps and seeing Friday the 13th. The character's name was Jason. Well, how cool is that? And sort of falling for those movies, growing up on the East Coast, also knowing that everything looked like Crystal Lake if you went upstate. And then, like I said, we both said Halloween, the movie Halloween changes everyone's dynamic and the way we look at horror movies. It is crazy how involved in the Halloween movies you are, though. Now we're coming up on the Halloween 45th anniversary. I was showing the
Mhm.
Halloween 45 logo a little bit before. But so tell me, well, I know, but tell me how your business end in the Halloween movies happens.
Um, well, I mean, honestly, it's started as a fan, going to conventions, um, and then I think where my Halloween connection began was I found the holy grail of Halloween collectibles at a toy show in Pasadena one year, and it was a Captain Kirk William Shatner mask, and a real one. And I bought it immediately, and I was just flipping out. And I showed a friend of mine who was an up and coming effects artist. He was in the middle of doing like the Dick Smith course and everything, so he was he was good. And he just kind of threw the idea at me, like, we could mold this thing and sell copies. You know how many Halloween fans would kill to have one of these? Because at the time, the only thing you could get was the crappy Don Post, what was called the mask, and it looked nothing like the Shatner mask. It was just a white mask with brown hair. And so I was like, hey, I'm cool with sharing the wealth, so we did that. And I put this little ad in the back of Fangoria magazine in the classifieds. And I was like, I don't know, what should I ask for? I think I said $60. I don't even remember what I put it in for, right? And my PO box just blew up. I was getting just bombarded with orders. Now, here I am, I was probably 22, I don't know, somewhere around there. I didn't know the first thing about making masks. and so my buddy is like showing me, and I'm learning as I go. And so then I kept like, oh, I can't do this. I got to raise the price, because then like the internet was starting to happen, right? So I did a web page, and I put like, I'm going to raise it to $100. Orders kept coming. I'm going to raise it to 150. Orders kept coming. It's like, Jesus, how can I slow this down? But I limited it to 100. I made all 100, sold them, shipped them. It took me forever. Some people waited probably a year to get their damn mask. But from that, I started to get some notoriety in the Halloween fandom world. Like, oh, because I didn't have a name for the mask. So people kept referring it to the mask as the Sean Clark 75. So to this day, people say, oh, the Clark 75. It's just a recast, And
How do you
from
do it,
that,
Sean? For people who don't know, because I would know the first thing, how do you copy a mask?
well, if it's a latex mask, if it's thick enough, you don't have to really do much to it. But if it's thin, you have to stuff it and make sure it's solid. And then you basically you take and plaster, and you make a mold, and you paint it on until it builds up, put gauze and stuff on it to and until it's a big thing, let it cure, and then you work the mask out and pull it out, and then you have a negative of it, and then you fill that with latex, let that sit to the top, wait about 30 minutes, pour it out, let that sit overnight, and you pull out a rubber mask. I mean, I remember it was Death Studios, Jeff Death, who ran Death Studios, which was an independent mask company. He had a how to make Halloween masks video, VHS, and I ordered it online, and I basically followed his tutorial, so.
You were definitely ahead of your time. Nowadays, you go on YouTube, you can learn how to do anything in a second. Back then, you're sending out for a VHS tape. That is a skill I knew I wouldn't have. I would have ruined the first mask. I would have destroyed everything, and that would have been it. But so you sold 100 of those. People started to know you. As I said earlier, you and I were going to a lot of the same conventions, and we're interested in meeting a lot of the same people. And a lot of the people we met are no longer with us. And it was amazing that we had those encounters. So what I find, and we'll get to people's questions. I know there's a lot of them. We'll get to those too. But first, I figure we'll cover some general knowledge. I know a lot of Sean's viewers are here, Malfunsean on YouTube. They know these stories, but for other people who don't, it's good to get into it. So one of the things that I found fascinating is that you were building your own collection, of your own horror collection. Which, if you go to his YouTube, you'll see videos of his collection. There's some amazing pieces, really fun to watch. But you also started taking your videos of horror's hallowed grounds, and you shop them. What was originally who knew would ever end up on YouTube? You created these pieces for bonus content on DVDs. At that time, DVD and Blu-ray later would be the big thing. Tell me how that comes about.
Well, how that came about, it's another weird path. So from the mask thing, there was a Halloween fan who had a popular Halloween website, had partnered up with another guy thinking about putting on a 25th anniversary convention. He contacted me because, like I said, I was starting to get a name in the Halloween thing. And I think he actually reached out to me originally like if maybe I wanted to be a vendor or something. I don't remember, to be honest with you. But I immediately I want to be a part of this. So I became a full partner, and it was the three of us that put on the 25th convention. Now, so that's going on. And at the same time, I started a t-shirt company called horrorshirts.com, which is no longer in existence. And I was doing t-shirts. So I had that going. And then I ended up being a journalist by complete accident too. Somebody I was making shirts for that had a website called creaturecorner.com. They lost their LA guy, and he called me up one day just because we had good rapport over the phone. He's like, "Hey, would you like to go cover this press junket?" And I'm like, "What does that mean?" Told me. I went and did it. They loved what I did. "Hey, you want to do more of these?" Hell yeah. Next thing I know, I'm getting flown to Vancouver and Toronto doing set visits on major films. I mean, it was crazy. All this was happening at once. And what happened with the Horrors Hallowed Grounds is I had already been doing the filming location stuff, like for fun, filming stuff and taking pictures, but nothing major. I did make this video, and I don't even have a copy of it. I wish if anybody out there has this thing, I need a copy of my own video. I can't believe I don't have a copy, but it was called Halloween the Retrospective, and it was a VHS tape. I used to sell copies of it, and it was like I guess you'd call it the demo, if you will, of Horrors Hallowed Grounds. And it was me and a buddy. We filmed Halloween 1, 2, and 3 locations, and we sat down and did a commentary over it. And I'm sure it's very non-politically correct. We were like 22-year-old kids drinking beer and eating pizza and being stupid. But anyhow, from that, in the journalist thing, going back to that, I pitched the idea to one of these websites. I think I was out of Creature Corner by then. I was now on to the Horror Channel, which was a website, not a channel. Wanted to be a channel, never became a channel. And from there, I pitched the idea of this Horrors Hallowed Grounds thing where I do articles, online articles, and show like pictures from the movie and what it looks like today. So it was comparison photos and me telling where they are. So I was doing that already, and it was getting a bit of a following online. And then from the 25th convention, we made a documentary, which Anchor Bay ended up putting out, called Halloween 25 Years of Terror. Now, while I was working on that, I went into Malika Cod's office one day. He's the guy who runs the Halloween franchise now. And he was like, "Hey, we need more content. We need more bonus features for this documentary. Do you have any ideas?" And I said, "Well, there's this thing I do online called Horrors Hallowed Grounds. I've been thinking about turning it into a show." And he said, "Do it." So I went out and filmed my first episode, and PJ Souls and I had become friendly at that point, and I asked her to be in it, and that's how it started. It was a bonus feature on that DVD release, and then from there, people saw it, and different companies asked me, "Hey, could you do one of those for our release?" And it just kept growing. But I was always, I made the big mistake of not taking YouTube seriously. I kept thinking, "Oh, you know what? I'm going to get a call from Travel Channel, or somebody's going to reach out and say, we want this to be a series. So I'm not going to put it online for free when I could be screwing myself, and ultimately I did kind of screw myself by sitting on it, because then people kept coming up to me at conventions and telling me how much they loved my YouTube channel. I'm like, "I don't have a YouTube channel." "Oh, you're where you go to the houses?" I'm like, "What do you?" "Yeah, that's my thing." Come to find out, people were ripping the DVDs and putting them on their channels.
Half a million views. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. You come from the old school, as did I, where you take a pitch meeting and you sell something to be on a network, or to, we didn't think about YouTube. The pandemic was good for some people, for you and I for sure, because it was time to do YouTube. You had the time to do it, and you weren't traveling to conventions. I wasn't traveling to concerts, and you sit down, and all of a sudden you realize, you know what? There's people who want this content, and there's money to be made owning your own content and being in in charge of it. So,
Mm.
and there's a lot of people who are pointing out their favorite episodes and things, and I'll get to all of that. I just want to continue talking, and then we'll go to everyone's questions and comments. So, so as it's going on, people are knowing you in the horror community. People are knowing you, and now you're starting to get recognized at these conventions. People know what you were doing was ahead of its time. Now, filming locations is a very, sort of common thing. You and I, when we were talking, we were saying all the places that we went to just to see them for ourselves and took a picture. Wow, we should have videotaped them, because a lot of those places are gone or changed drastically. I'm glad to see how many spots you still go to and show what they do. Your schedule involves traveling. Sometimes that helps. Sometimes if you have to go somewhere for an appearance, you can also double in a filming location. So I'm fascinated. A lot of people might know you as a convention agent, and it's interesting how you get into that, because a lot of people, it's a whole nother world. There's a great episode on your channel, Malfunsean, where you and 3 other agents discuss the business. It's a fascinating business. The music business has all kinds of drama. Musicians all talk about other musicians and things like that. And we'll get to your music career too. There's so much to get back and forth. But when I started hearing about the agents and some of these clients and some of these actors, there's a thing I learned a few times by booking musicians. There's always somebody who says, I'm going to book, say, Steven Adler. And at the time, not now, but at the time, Steven Adler was still using and still troubled. But people think, as you would call them, a fanager, they think, I can handle Steven Adler. Well, no, you couldn't. And he was much more serious problems. There's other artists I know that come to mind. I don't want to say their names, but they came to Vegas with their fanager and they did some drugs and couldn't perform and things like that. And I would say, what made you think that you could control someone who hasn't been heard from in 20 years? Sometimes when you haven't heard from somebody, there's a reason. So what this brings me to, and you probably know where I'm going, is Halloween actors were starting to come out. They were starting to do conventions. Things were happening. But you were able to find an actor named Tony Moran who plays Michael Myers for 3 seconds, but he did play Michael Myers. He is the face when the mask is ripped off. And you found him to interview him, right?
Yeah. Yep. And after the interview, I had brought 3 items with me that I wanted him to autograph. And I asked him if he'd sign them, and he was blown away. He said, I've never signed an autograph ever in my life. And I go, you've never signed anything Halloween? He's like, no, this is the first thing I've ever signed. And I was like, wow, you have no idea how many people out there would love to have you on their poster or their mask or whatever. And he's like, oh, what are you talking about? And I'm like, no, I'm serious. And I said, look, I have a friend who's doing a convention in Van Nuys. It's local. You should come try it. My dog didn't want him to come, but he came anyway. I said, you should give it a shot. And if you don't like it, go home. What do you got to lose? It's local. So he took my advice, tried it, had a blast. Couldn't believe it. People are coming up to you all weekend, telling you how great you are and handing you money. Well,
I was there.
Where's the downside?
I handed him money. I had him sign my posters. O.J. Simpson was there signing knives at that.
Oh, you were at that show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was the infamous O.J. Simpson show. I can't talk. And it was called Necro-Comic-Con.
Yep.
My good friend Eben put it on, who I talked to earlier today. Still talking. I mean, we're buddies.
It was a cool. It was a cool show. Some rare people. Dick Miller was there. There were some people that you didn't see every day, and it was sort of exciting to see Tony Moran. Even though we all kind of thought, well, this isn't really the guy, but you do see him in the movie, so why not? So he had a good time. He needed an agent, right?
Yeah. So he came up to me at the end of the show, actually during that show, and he said, this is great. I'd love to do more of these. And I said, well, look, I know a guy. He's here. He's with a bunch of these celebrities. He brought them. And I knew the guy personally. I said, you want me? I'll talk to him. And he said, absolutely. So I went up to him and I said, hey, Tony Moran, it's his first show ever. Did you see the line? He wants to do more. Hook you guys up. And he kind of looks at me and he looks over at him and he goes, wasn't he in the movie like 3 seconds? And I said, yeah, but he's the face of Michael Myers. I mean, it's significant. It's a big deal. And he goes, pass. And I just went, wow. So, I mean, believe me, I'm so grateful that happened because it changed my life. Him being an arrogant prick changed my life. So I'm hanging around. Tony comes up to me later. Oh, hey, did you talk to that guy? Yeah. What'd he say? And I told him. And he goes, fuck that guy. Why don't you manage me? And I was like, I guess I could. And then the wheels started turning in my head that day. I was like, well, I booked all the people for the Halloween 25th convention. It didn't seem that hard. I mean, I think I could do this. I do need to know more about how it really works with these other shows, though, you know? So that weekend, Richard Brooker was at the show. He played Jason, Friday 13th, Part 3. And I said to him, I said, hey, who books you for these things? And he goes, I don't have anybody. I do it myself. I go, hey, if you need somebody, I'd be more than happy to help you out. And he said, yeah. And he gave me his number. My first 2 clients, Tony and Richard, same day. That was how I started.
And Michael Myers and Jason. Good start.
Huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then famously, Tony and I fell out about 2 years later. And his convention woes began without me, and he needed somebody to blame for his convention woes, and I was the target. I must be sabotaging him behind the scenes. And ever since then, he's just got this vendetta mixed in with alcohol and drugs, probably turns it into like I'm the devil. So anyway,
he's an interesting character. He comes off of as a troubled character. He does have this issue with you, but he seems to have an issue with the world. When you interviewed him, he didn't remember much about the Halloween experience. He was only there for a little while. As fans had told him stories, or you told him stories, he now has he can do a whole one-man show on the Halloween movies.
Yeah.
But that is an example of you finding a guy who probably wasn't the best person to be with long distance. But you started showing that you can do it. You could get in with these conventions. You started taking on other clients. I'm going to move a little faster, some of it, but one of the biggest ones, you're representing Norman Reedus when he was really known for Boondock Saints.
Sorry, my dog's losing his mind.
No, that's all right. That's dogs do. That's okay. But Boondock Saints was a cult movie. People liked it. You were representing the guys. And then suddenly this thing, Walking Dead, comes about. Norman is known for being a nice guy. He's known for being a loyal guy. He's got a great reputation and keeps you, obviously, as his convention agent. And Walking Dead mania happens. Bigger than anyone could imagine, right?
Yeah, it was completely bonkers. I mean, my life changed in a course of months, just a matter of months. It was a whole different ball game. I mean, I remember we were at a convention in Burbank, sitting in this practically empty room at a table, nobody in front of us, no line. And we're just sitting there bored out of our minds. And he looked at me and said, oh, I just got this show. It's like based on a horror comic. It's called Walking Dead. You think it might be good for these things? And I'm like, I don't know. I've heard of it. I was like, I've heard of the comic. Who knows? And then he skyrockets, and I mean, fast forward, a year and a half later, we're running down the streets of Tokyo, being chased by screaming women. I mean, it was insane. It was just a total life-changing moment.
Yeah, for sure. And you represent other cast members, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, another one of the big cast members. It's gotten to the point now where, especially during the Walking Dead prime, you couldn't be at all the conventions that were going on. Your girlfriend handles some of it. You have a roster of people who help handle your roster of talent. And now it's not uncommon for you to be represented in 3 spots in one weekend, and which is a good problem to have. But you're an organized guy, and you have a good team, because boy, it's not easy. I think about tour managing a band of, 7 in our touring party. You're sending out people all over the place, and they have to have signs, and they have to have pens, and they have to have pictures, and they have to have hotel rooms. You have to make sure that the convention's treating them properly. Someone might have a problem, so it's a lot on your plate, and you do a great job. And people now know you for that. In addition to all the work you've done, and they know you through YouTube. You have a show called The Thing with Two Heads, which you do when you can. You and your co-host, he's an Oscar-winning makeup artist. He doesn't always have time, neither do you. But you guys do these great discussions about movies, and it gets addictive. If you're a horror fan, you can go down the Sean Clark rabbit hole for a while. I find myself watching the Horror's Hallowed Grounds, as well as people who are commenting. And then the next thing you know, I'm watching you eating with your girlfriend at the fair. And next thing you know, you spent 10 hours of watching things. We're going to get to everybody's questions. So you talked about the Halloween conventions. We talked about your talent roster. So I want to talk about Halloween 45. I know a lot of people are tuning in to hear about it, and the first names have been announced. Now, what is your title with the event?
I guess I'm a co-organizer at this point. I mean, I've handed most of the responsibility over to Horror Hound just because I do not have the time to do it on my own. So basically, I brought Horror Hound in on the 40th, which is in conjunction with Malika Cod and Trancas Films. And so it's kind of the three entities, Trancas, Horror Hound, and myself. And however, I like to put this out there and let everybody know I make no money from ticket sales. I'm not a part of any of that because I'm an agent and I'm going to be filling the place with a lot of my clients. It's kind of a conflict of interest. It's double dipping, and I feel it's unethical. So I make my money from my clients, and the bus tours that are on Friday, the Horror's Hallowed Grounds tours, is a separate thing, and I do make money from that. That's my personal thing. So
yeah, and I want to make sure I mentioned it a little bit in the intro, but so the bus tours, the convention is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right?
Well, the convention is actually Saturday, Sunday. Friday is the bus tours.
Friday, you do your day. So it's the bus tours. You're going to go to the locations from the Halloween movie. How many buses do you think you're going to have?
I definitely won't go over 8. That's the most we've done, which is about 400 plus people. So just so you know, each bus has a tour guide. So you'll have, a group of 50. The buses hold, I think, about 52 to 60 people, depending on the model. So there'll be a tour guide on each bus, and we're going to send them off like in 4 different routes. So 2 buses, 2 buses, 2 buses, 2 buses. That way there's not 400 people at one location at once. It'd be crazy. Because there are walking tour parts, where we get out and we walk around and go to the places, sometimes go in the places, depending on the access that's given to us.
Yeah. What do the bus drivers say when you go, okay, look, you're going to stop at Michael Myers' grave, Judith Myers' grave, excuse me. And then we're going to spin by this abandoned hospital. And then we're going to go by, do the bus drivers like it, or do they just think this is crazy? Another day at work?
You know what? To be perfectly honest with you, I never really talked to any of them about it. I mean, they're given their routes ahead of time, and they just follow the charts. Did have a big issue at the 40th with one of the bus drivers refusing to actually go on the route because there was apparently some streets that legally buses of that size are not supposed to go down. But he was the only one driver out of all of them that was being I guess, some sort of commander of the rules. And I lost my shit on him, and I called the bus company and flipped out on them. I'm like, you had the fucking maps, the routes for months. This guy, I have people here flipping out, and they basically made him do it. And he was a dick the whole day, apparently. So.
Yeah, well, this year you'll make sure in advance that they know that they got to stick to the routes.
Yeah.
And maybe you have some of the same drivers. But so tell me some of the stuff that people are going to see. You can't tell it all, but some of it.
Well, you'll see locations from the original Halloween, 1978. You'll see Halloween 2 from 81. You'll see some locations from Halloween 3, Rob Zombie's 2007 remake. You'll see stuff from other films too, like Return of the Living Dead Part 2, The Fog, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Christine. We go by some of the Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2 locations, the famous Garbage Day Street. We'll go there. There's some cool stuff in there. And I'm still in the process of redoing the routes right now because I want to mix it up this time and put in some new stuff we've never done. The ones I really want to hit we've never done before is the hospital from Halloween 2 and the mental asylum from Rob Zombie's Halloween, which they're in the same facility. I just need to find out if I can get permission to actually let people get out there because it is a VA hospital facility. We could drive through there, no problem, I think, but stopping and getting out, I'm still working on that.
Well, I'm excited. I'm going to do it. I think it's a fun thing to do, a different experience with, if you've done these locations, you get in a car, you go to one place, you go to the next place. But it's a fun thing to do with a group, especially a group of rabid Halloween fans and horror fans, and it becomes an event. So that's on Friday. Where do people get tickets, Sean?
Well, the tickets, I think it's h45.com. I think it is halloween45.com. I believe is the website. The Horrors Hallowed Grounds tour tickets aren't on sale yet.
Okay.
We'll be making an announcement soon. I need to have all the routes. I don't know how you want to say it. Routes. I want to have all, I don't know. Depends on where you're from, right? The route. I don't know. I need to have all those handled up ahead of time and confirmed with the bus company and find out the expenses on the rentals and everything to determine ticket price. So I know things have gone up quite a bit in the past 5 years. So we'll see. We'll see how, as gas has gotten very expensive in California. Those buses don't run on, electric. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. No Tesla bus. So then you also have, and then we're going to get the questions are coming in, but I also want to mention that you do a really cool event with Tom Atkins, who's the star of Halloween 3. You do an event. There's a bar in the movie. It's kind of a famous location, and you do an event where people can come to the bar and hang out with Tom Atkins, right?
Yeah, it's very limited. I think, trying to remember, it was limited to like 50 or between 50 and 70 people, I think, because it's a small bar. So we ended up doing it 2 events, and like we had 2 different tiers. Like we'd have one group come in, and they make specialty drinks that are themed to Halloween 3. Tom is there. You get a photo with him at the bar, which is a super cool thing. Where you're never going to get that again. A photo with the man at the filming location. And then you're going to get like I think we're going to do a commemorative beer mug this time. And then that group leaves and they'll be taken on a nighttime walking tour of the locations nearby. Same ones that are in the Horrors Hallowed Grounds tour, but this time you get to see them at night, which is pretty cool. And if you don't do the Horrors Hallowed Grounds tour, this is just a bonus. But it was an idea I came up with the last minute. I'm like, how the fuck are we going to get these people out of the bar, to get the other group in? And I was like, yeah, walking tour. So that's how we do it. And that's going to be Sunday night after the convention's over. We'll have another bus pick people up at the convention center and take them to Sierra Madre, where the bar event will be held.
Some of these things are once in a lifetime chances. Tom Atkins is in his 80s, hope he'll live another 80 years. But how many times are you going to get a chance to sit at the bar from Halloween 3 with me? If it wasn't for you, Sean, I don't think anyone else would have thought of these concepts. We're going to talk about Halloween movies in a bit, and I'd like to get the audience involved. Let's take a look at some of these questions. I'll put on my reading glasses so I look more sophisticated. Okay, let's see here. Here's a good one. It's great seeing music buffs who adore movies. Well, I would love to do more. You know, this algorithm, Sean, as you know, when you make videos about heavy metal bands, they start to only like heavy metal bands. And so I like to do both. And so Mark Sanchez is noticing Sean's drum head in the background, which is a Johnny Kelly who played drums on my record. It's a Johnny Kelly signed drum head from when he was in Danzig. And let's see. A lot of people, Salem's Lot was scary. Salem's Lot, I did find scary as a kid.
I went to those locations, and I think it's Fairfield, California. Fairview, something like that. It's right near the town from Halloween 3, Lolita. It's about 2 miles from there.
Was a lot of it still there?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, they shot the whole movie in that town. The only bummer is the house from Salem's Lot. They built a facade on the house, so it doesn't look like it did in the movie, but that house is still in the same spot.
Crazy Jake's Film Locations is going to Maine at the end of June for the Graveyard Shift and Pet Cemetery Film Locations. Did you do Pet Cemetery?
I've never done Pet Cemetery. You know, I don't think I've ever done any filming locations in Maine. A lot of people have asked me to go out and do that one. I want to eventually. You know, I've got a laundry list of ones I want to hit, and I've got like 15 episodes I've shot in the can that I'm editing right now. So just got back from Toronto where I shot 6 episodes. So
let's see. All right, here's a good one. Heavy Metal Beer Club enjoyed Sean's video at Magic Mountain talking about Kiss Meets the Phantom. That was one of my favorites as well, and one that I have to do. I've never even been to Six Flags Magic Mountain. For me, it's National Lampoon's Vacation, the scene at the end where they all put their hands up. It looks exactly the same. I'm sure most people walk by it and have no idea.
A lot of movies have been shot there. True Romance, Beverly Hills Cop 3. There's tons of movies been shot at Magic Mountain.
Yeah, the
Zapped, the Scott Baio class, and the movie Roller Coaster with George Siegel. That's a good one.
This is Spinal Tap Jazz Odyssey took place on that stage. You walked right out on it. Security wasn't paying attention.
No, we snuck in there. Yeah.
That's a great one. Here's Scott on Tape, who has a great channel as well.
That's my boy.
Yeah, he's got a great one. You know, so many people do this, but not so many people stick with it. And if you want to be successful on YouTube, you got to stick with it, and you got to be consistent.
The consistency is the key. I mean, your channel has grown pretty steadily, and I think it's because you're pretty consistent with your content. You know, my problem is gaps of time where I don't do stuff because I get busy and I'm on the road. So it's, but you know, I'm trying to change that. You know, I bought a MacBook Pro, so I'm taking it with me. I'm trying to edit on the road, trying to be a little more productive when I'm away from the home.
Yeah, absolutely. I enjoy watching. There's a lot of crossovers in these videos where Sean will go out he was just in Toronto with Scott on Tape. Sometimes he's with Adam the Woo. These are the popular sort of videos. And sometimes I watch them. People tell me, what do you watch these idiots walking around Disneyland for? They don't get it. But it becomes a part of people's lives. Someone like Adam the Woo, who updates every single day, you start to fall into their world, and you get to see cool stuff along the way. Not everyone gets to travel, and so when you do, we get to bring people locations. I'm going to be in Cleveland this weekend. I'm going to try to go see the Christmas Vacation RV that's sitting in some Christmas museum. So we're lucky to go to those places. And yes, but Scott on Tape, again, another really fun one. I got to get you, Sean. I got to get you out here, and we got to go to the Gene Simmons Museum and see. Because you're a Kiss fan and a Kiss collector, so it might be time to do that. And Stryper's playing soon, so that's another good reason for you to come up here.
Yeah, love me some Stryper.
Mm-hmm. Joey Allen from Warren is in the movie Phantom. Kiss Meets the Phantom. So
he is.
Yeah, you see him for a second in the crowd, but he can point it out. And when I had him on the show.
Oh, that's awesome.
He mentioned it. Yeah, a lot of cool people were there. Okay, let's see here. Almost Zen, new to this channel, first live stream, hooked on Jason's content, which is great. It's fun. I wish I could do more other content. You know, when I was younger, when I worked for Troma, the makers of the Toxic Avenger, did that for a lot of years, and they sent me around. And I would go to Hollywood and I'd go to all these cemeteries and visit all these locations, never thinking that this is content, just thinking of how cool it would be to see these things.
Believe
Question.
me, it drives me nuts that I'm having to retrace my steps so often because I wasn't thinking about shooting video. I was just taking pictures. Like, you know, the ones we went to in Toronto a couple weeks ago, me and Scott, I've been to all of them. And now I had to go back and film all of them. And it's like, it's kind of, I mean, I enjoy going back to them, but it's like, man, if I had been thinking ahead, you know, I should have shot episodes, but.
Yeah, we didn't know. This is a common question. Would you book Tony at Halloween 45 for charity?
That says what I celebrity box Tony.
Oh, whoops. It's a good thing your reading comprehension is better than me. Well, would you do either of those things?
No, that'd be elder abuse.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, but so he is the one Michael Myers who will not be represented. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, he won't be there. Even if he tried to buy a ticket, he'd be escorted out.
He does these online interviews where he's insane, and he was dating some actress who was in Scream, I guess, and he whips her boobs out in the middle of a live stream. It's one of the strangest things.
What we call classy.
Sean, did you and Scott go to to that Leafs game?
Yeah, we went to game 2, I believe, of the playoffs, and they had a great first period, and then they just tanked. And now, as you all know, spoiler alert, they're out. So go Vegas. That's what I say now.
Yeah, who knew Vegas is hot? People also enjoy Adam the Woo we talked about, but Grim Life Collective, another good channel. Sean's been on that channel as well. They do really cool locations. Occasionally, they'll do a video though where they'll go, "We're going to show you where they filmed The Hunchback of Notre Dame," and then at the end they'll go, "Well, we're not really sure, but this might be it." But other than those rare occurrences, they've got a great channel and really good, fun content. Let's see. Someone said Norman Reedus should play Snake in an Escape from New York reboot.
I've said that for years. I've actually said that to many people that he would be. I mean, now he's getting up there in age, but he'd be a great Snake.
Yeah. Good evening. What's up, Jason and Sean? He's been jamming out to the Heathens. I've been jamming out to the Heathens as well, Sean. That was your band, and that's the music that you use in your videos. Great stuff. Will there be a Heathens reunion?
It hasn't been discussed. I mean, I don't think we've played since. I think our last show might have been 2018, and that was just it. I've done bands that I'm really proud of, and put out some records and stuff. That band was literally just a jam band kind of thing. Like they were already doing stuff. And Al, my guitar player, who was in my other band, Malfunsean, he was the guitar player in that band. He's like, "Hey, we're playing this show. Our drummer quit or blah, blah, blah. You want to jump in?" And then I jumped in, and it's kind of a rotating door of musicians sometimes. But I believe that was the last show the Heathens ever played was at Horror Hound Weekend in Cincinnati in 2018. So,
well, Sean is a drummer, and I play bass. We'll get James Gunn to play with us. He could help us sell the tickets. I've worked with him before, and we could do these conventions, All-Star Weekend. People like when Sean talks about his music memorabilia. He's got great stuff. I recommend you go to his channel, Malfunsean, and see that. We're going to talk about Halloween movies in a second because I like to hear what people's favorites are, what their least favorites are. Thank you for the super chat. Sean and Jason, how do you rate Donald Pleasant's contribution to early Halloween films?
Huge. I mean,
wouldn't be the same without him. You got to figure Jamie Curtis is a young up-and-coming actress who most of the time is spent screaming and running around. Donna Pleasance was kind of holding it together.
Yeah, no, it's a bummer he's no longer with us. It's also a bummer I never got a chance to meet him.
Yeah, that's one I think about too. If he had lived longer, he would have been at these appearances. Sean has another old video showing film locations for the movie Session 9 in the Northeast, back before the asylum was turned into apartments. I'm not even familiar with that one.
Oh yeah, no, that's one of my favorite films. It was shot at Danvers Mental Asylum. That was hands down my favorite location I ever visited.
Wow. Yeah. And then you've seen a lot. There's the link in the chat for people who want to attend Halloween 45. Let's see here. Go through some of this.
What was that one somebody said about? I saw something you put up there for a second about the heathens. What up, Sean Speedmaster? The heathen. Greetings from Houston. That's Speedmaster is the song that's the closing credit song in Horror's Hall Grounds.
Gotcha. Let's see here. Speaking of Halloween, look up an album called Sweet Deceiver by Kevin Ayers. The painting's supposed to be Kevin, but it looks like a young Jamie Lee Curtis. All right. Great interview, Jason. Sean has a great story of his business, so there's a link there, I believe, that you can read more about Sean. Sean is friends with John 5. Jason, could you ask him if he could talk a little bit about John being in Motley Crue? All right. Sean will give you a nicer answer than me.
I mean, I'm happy for him. I think, he'd kind of run the course in Zombie. I think him being a lifelong Crue fan, what a dream come true for him to join one of his all-time favorite bands. So, and quite honestly, with Mick leaving, I don't think you could have asked for a more perfect replacement. I mean, that fans would accept. You know what I mean? Shit. You got John 5, Nikki 6. If Tommy quits, Sean 7 is waiting.
Mm-hmm.
But
it could happen. You never know. New Kids. That's a good movie. I remember that one. Tom Atkins was in as well. Have you thought about New Kids locations?
No, I got the DVD, but it's not high on my list. I mean, you know what? You never know. It could happen. I did some pretty deep cuts on this recent trip to Toronto, so
looking forward to it. Okay, how will folks be able to score a ticket to the Tom Atkins event? Sounds like it'd be a blast.
That will also be announced when those are going to go on sale. There is a good chance it may sell out before it goes on sale to the public because VIPs have first crack at it, and there's more VIPs than there are tickets for the Tom Atkins event, unfortunately. So it's a small bar. I wish I could make it bigger.
Yeah. Okay. Was John C. asked to attend age 45? Well, okay, this is a question that everyone's going to ask. John C. is John Carpenter. John Carpenter is out and about. He is doing conventions now. And he has periodically. So is he coming?
He's been asked. Nick Castle had lunch with him. Nick said he was interested in coming. He's told a few other people he would be there. And then his booking agent said he can't make it. So, we'll see. I'm going to see John, not this weekend, but next weekend in Dallas. And I will definitely speak to him in person. We'll see.
It seems, he'll be at the Texas Frightmare Convention, as you'll have guests there as well. But you would think that this would be the ultimate mecca of Halloween. Where else would you go to sell John Carpenter autographs? It seems like he has to be there. Will Halloween 3 locations be part of the tour?
Yes, the ones in Southern California, but unfortunately, the town of Lolita, where the factory is and stuff, is about a 13-hour drive from LA. So that will not be on the tour.
Watch his episode, Halloween 3 filming locations. I don't want to ruin too much, but there is a slight altercation of sorts with a guy. It's real. I asked Sean when we first got on the phone, I asked all my questions. But anyway, but this is related. Hey, Jason. Hey, Sean. Just wondering if you've ever had to run from the authorities due to places you've been in cases of horrors, hollow grounds.
I mean, not the authorities per se. I mean, I was arrested once for trespassing. It was a real just fluke thing where I was at a location of a VA hospital on the same day that apparently there was a terrorist warning against VA hospitals, like terrorist threats against VA hospitals the day I happened to go. So I'm sitting there walking around like a nerd, and 3 cop cars pull up and surround me, and they draw weapons. And I'm like, hello. So that sucked. But other than that, I've ran from security guards and shit like that. I'm never going to run from the cops, I'm 52-year-old man here. I don't, come on.
I've never had issues with police. I've had issues with what they would call dangerous people in dangerous neighborhoods. I went to film the Doors Morrison Hotel, the insert. It was the first Hard Rock Cafe. It's in Skid Row, and people may or may not have threatened to kill me while doing it. And I realized,
Scott and I just had an interesting thing happen when we were at one of the locations in Toronto, where we showed up, and literally sitting right where we needed to film were 2 junkies and another dude walking around like a zombie, that when he walked up to us, the other 2 guys threatened to beat his ass. And there was this whole thing, and I got a lot of it on film. I haven't edited that episode yet, so we'll see how much I'm willing to show. But the guy started telling us his whole life story of being a drug addict and in and out of jail. And
you never
Scott
know.
And I were just like, I just want to get out of it. Could you guys just move just for a minute? And we,
Skylar mentions Wally World. I've gone to those locations. A lot, you can watch videos. A lot of people have done things. I find with my channel, people like to see when I go to the places. As with Sean, they like to see his reaction to it. Wally World is by the racetrack. It's a few different places, but it's the underpass, which is near the racetrack. It goes to a shopping mall. And then over it is a matte painting, which Harold Ramis owned. And then the Santa Anita racetrack where he punches the moose, that's there. And then the Six Flags is the
interior of
interior,
Wally
right, or exterior even. Yeah. Okay, let's see. What Sean, this is a good one too. Was it eerie being at the Twilight Zone accident location? It's a great video of his.
The only thing that was eerie about it really was we were out in the middle of nowhere, and there was a lot of what are those?
It's overgrown.
It was overgrown, but I'm trying to remember what they're called. They're
like willows.
Bamboo. I mean, it was so thick that I kind of had a panic attack at one point, just trying to get to the spot. And then getting out of there, we kind of got lost because you could not see anything because you're in the middle of a forest of bamboo. So that's the only thing that got eerie. Because I think I even said it in the videos. Like if something was to happen to us out here, nobody'd ever find us,
Yeah, that's a good one to watch. And, it was supposed to be Vietnam, the bamboo. It certainly looks. And I've been to a lot of these locations where sort of eerie things have happened. Most of the time, I don't really. That's not the scary part. These places have been visited so many times. It's tragic, but it's rare. I did go to a video. It's on this channel. It's the actor. He was engaged to Tiffany Amber Thiessen. He was on that TV show, Suddenly Susan with Brooke Shields. I can't think of his name right now, but I went into the room where he hung himself. And look, there's all these stories where they try to overhype. You could hear him at this time saying, "Help me," and there's all these things. And we went there, and they let us in. I was editing the video in the middle of the night, 3, 4 in the morning, and I will say it was sort of eerie because the exact thing that he put the sheet around to hang himself was still there. And even though a million people have stayed in this junky motel, it was slightly strange. Sean, you had a car accident recently, and Brad is hoping you're all healed up.
Yeah, I mean, these help. Yeah. But yeah, I've got definitely have some pain, especially my collarbone and neck area. The last 4 days have been pretty bad. That's why I stink of friggin' Bengay right now, because it's really sore. But yeah, my car's totaled. Got the money from the insurance company already. Already bought a new one. Just be careful, man. There's idiots out there. I mean, this girl I was just going through an intersection like any normal day and didn't see it coming. Just went right through the intersection, right through the red light, nailed me.
Much like I would do in this case, Sean took out his camera and started documenting.
Yeah, I should have done more.
Yeah, I was going to say you probably held back a little bit, but you're in shock when when you start doing these YouTube channels and you have an audience. Sometimes you rather just address everybody in a video rather than have to answer every text. What happened when I went through my skin cancer? I was like, well, I guess I'm not too proud to monetize my cancer diagnosis, but it does feel like this is what we do. In my tour diary that comes out tomorrow, Johnny and I are on a very turbulent plane. And I said, this is it. This is good. This is how it all ends. And of course, I have to take my phone out. God forbid, if the plane goes down, someone rescues that footage for a lost tour diary. Okay, let's see. There's a lot of questions.
I hate turbulence. Yeah.
Yeah, it's no fun. And you fly as often as I do. Let's see. I want to talk some Halloween movies, and I can't keep you here all night. Any thoughts on the movie Trick or Treat? Mark Sanchez, that's a good question. Sean is an expert.
Trick or Treat or Trick? Yeah, this one?
I think he means that one. No one means the other one. Yeah.
Well, I love Trick or Treat. I love both Trick or Treat as well with Sam, but love both of them. I did a Horror Solid Grounds on Trick or Treat. I'm also somewhat involved in the new 4K disc that's coming out. I think my episode is going to be on the disc, but I'm also helping out with some interview stuff for that.
You told me that Gene Simmons was not interested in commentary for a little clip, no?
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. We reached out to him, and his guy was very positive, as a guy I know. And he said, "Oh yeah, I'll talk to him. I'm sure he'd be more than happy to, because it seems like Gene's favorite topic is himself." So, but he said, "Wow," he goes, "I was surprised he shot it down."
You found.
I mean, to be honest with you, he was probably on set one day. If you watch the footage, he's in it very little.
Mm-hmm. They could have shot it anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. So people enjoyed that. Does Sean have a favorite quote from a horror movie? That's a tough question.
Oh God. I mean, I quote stuff all the time.
You kind of quote it though in the moment. Sometimes it's hard just to recall.
Yeah, I mean, a stupid quote I say all the time is, "We got this, man. We got this by the ass." And that's from Dawn of the Dead. But it's usually dumb quotes like that, not classic quotes like "sometimes dead is better," things like that.
Right. But the weird ones are better. Bill Shapiro says Red Fox House is a winner, Jason Green. So I live really close to Red Fox's house. I pass it all the time. Every time I go by, I shake my fist and say, "You big dummy." His cemetery is also nearby. And at the end of his life, tragically, he had a junkyard store, essentially, where he was selling his stuff to pay taxes. I made a video about it early on. It was fun. And people seem to enjoy it. I will tell you that Scott on Tape, I don't know if he's still here, he made the same video and has over 500,000 views. So it just shows you that different views get picked up in different ways. And if you're in that algorithm, you're in doing good. Let's see.
The junkyard from Sanford and Son, the exterior of the building is on Magnolia, I think, in Burbank.
Yeah, I want to do it. I've heard about it for a long time. It looks a little different, but I like to do it. Here, Scott, any big filming location videos coming up Sean can talk about? That's a good question, Sean. Is there something big coming up?
Well, I put out the George Romero's grave video yesterday when I don't normally do grave stuff. Scott's kind of the expert in that area. But since I knew George and we were nearby, Scott was like, you need to do it. So I was like, okay. So I did it. Seems to be doing pretty good. But as far as Horror's Hallowed Ground, I think, I don't know if I should say what it is, but I think, oh, what the hell? The next episode I'm dropping is American Psycho.
Nice. There's an exclusive. You heard it here first.
Yeah. And I had to also go to New York to finish it because there were several locations shot in New York. I'd say about 70% Toronto, 30% New York.
I wondered what was going on in New York. Were you there for a convention as well, or just a fun trip?
No, literally, Scott talked me into it. Like, we finished My American Psycho, and I showed him the list of the ones that were in New York, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to figure out a time to come back and get these. And he's like, why don't you go now? And I said, like, well, I'm supposed to go home Sunday. And he goes, change your flight, go to New York. You're right here. You're literally right here. And he was right. So I changed my flight and decided to stay a day in New York. And I landed, dropped my bag off the hotel, went straight to the location, went back, went to sleep, got up, flew home. It was like in and out. I walked by the Ghostbusters building by accident. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's but look, it's done. You did it. That's sometimes the best part.
Well, I'm editing it, so it's almost done. Hold on just 1 second. I'll be right back.
Yeah, of course.
He's gotta pee. Nature calls.
Yeah, he's getting the first pee break. When he gets back, I soloed his chair when he's not here. I meant to solo my chair. We'll wait till he gets back. And anyway, and we'll talk about some Halloween because I want to talk about the Halloween 45 convention, talk about who's been booked so far. And I want to talk about what people's favorite Halloween and least favorite Halloween movies are. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. This is a good chance to say that. And check out Scott on Tape's channel. Check out Malfunsean, obviously. A lot of good different pop culture content. We're all sort of addicted to pop culture and famous events and locations and places. My touring with Stephen Piercy's band brings me to so many cool places and a lot of cool people too that take me to these locations. There's tons and tons of video, especially here in Vegas, that I'm just sitting on that I haven't had the chance to edit. And music sort of comes first. Again, this Friday, Steve Riley from LA Guns interview, Richie Ramone's coming up, and Great White, Shiraz Lane, a lot of stuff coming up. Okay, here's Sean. Sean's back. All right, Sean, glad you're back.
So much better.
When well, in a minute, I'm going to let you talk while I take a pee break. But I want to bring up the Halloween 45 beginning lineup and talk a little bit about Halloween with you. So, okay, here it is. 45 Years of Terror. It's September 29th through October 1st at the Pasadena Convention Center. Saturday, 11 to 7, Sunday, 11 to 5. These are the first names that are being announced. Both of these people are represented by Sean. And to me, these are the most important Michael Myers for my dollar, if you will. I always said, where is Nick Castle? That's the real Michael Myers. How do we get to see this guy at conventions? He's had a successful career. Nick Castle has written and directed a lot of other movies, and it took Sean to convince him that people wanted to meet him, right?
Yeah, he likes to tell the story that I tricked him into doing conventions, but because he didn't want to really have anything to do with Halloween. And then he just kind of said, I mean, if it was a Last Starfighter thing or something, that, I directed that, I would be more interested. So I happened to represent Lance Guest, who was in Halloween 2 and Last Starfighter, and Catherine Mary Stewart, who was in Last Starfighter, but Night of the Comet and Weekend at Bernie's and stuff. So I talked to a horror promoter, Dave Hagen at Monster Mania, and I said, hey, would you be down for doing a Last Starfighter reunion with Lance Guest, Catherine Mary Stewart, and Nick Castle. And he's like, are you kidding me? So I called Nick and said, hey, last Starfighter reunion. And he's all, really? And I said, yeah. And he goes, okay, all right, fine, I'll do it. And I go, but just so you know, people are going to bring Halloween stuff. It's going to happen. And he's like, oh, that's fine. That's fine. And it was 99% Halloween stuff. So
yeah, he seems to enjoy it now. He's done a few. I went to see him SteelCon, which is in Pennsylvania, and I got my stuff signed. I still have a ton more, but it's exciting because this is really the bulk of the movie. You have a good ratio to break down who plays Michael Myers in the first movie. What is the breakdown?
You mean who played him in what scenes, or how many? What do you mean?
What percentage is which person?
I would say 90% is Nick. I would say probably then you go like 7% Tommy Lee Wallace, and then next would probably be Deborah Hill. I think is on screen technically longer than Tony Moran, so I'd go with her. Then Tony. Then there's the dog trainer, the one scene, the dog, and then Jim Winburn.
Right, Jim Winburn. He takes the fall off the ledge, right?
Well, that's literally the shot of his ass falling to camera is the only shot of him. He's not the guy doing that.
Gotcha. Yeah. So
it's just the shot of him falling towards the camera. That's all the dude did. I mean, but he made a career out of it till he passed.
Yeah, he was doing signings. I want to mention one of the great things is there's the television version of Halloween that has the additional footage. You did locations of that, and you found that some of the scenes were filmed in the Freddy Krueger house, Nancy's house, and it's a really great video. I recommend people check that one out. Who would have known? There's all these lost scenes from the Halloween movie. There's a beginning scene with Donald Pleasance, and then the girls sitting around the house that just happens to be the famous Nancy house from Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm going to let you tell the story for 1 second about how you figure that out, and then I'm going to come right back.
Okay. So basically, they were doing an open house. They were selling the Elm Street house. And so I went during the open house because I wanted to see the inside of it. But I knew that they didn't shoot inside that house. And there's some shots of Nancy looking out the window and stuff like that they did shoot inside the house. But the entire interior of the Elm Street house in the first Elm Street film was a set. And it looks nothing like the real house looked. So I went, took a ton of pictures, and that was it. And I'd looked at those pictures enough that I kind of memorized the way the place looked. And I happened to be watching the Halloween TV version, and I saw Laurie come down the stairs, and she passes by this like wooden rocking horse. And I saw it. I'm like, oh my God, I've seen this. Where have I seen this? I know I've seen this rocking horse. And it just clicked to me. So that Elm Street house? And I pulled the pictures up and I compared them, and sure as shit, man, it's the same house, same stairs, same windows, same molding, same rocking horse. And that's how I put it together, that they shot inside that house. And then when you look at it, you can also tell Annie is calling from Nancy's room upstairs. They shot it in Nancy's room because you can see the closet matches in the window. It's kind of an interesting discovery that I don't think anybody would have ever made. And the Halloween people had no idea because they did that before Elm Street was ever made. Wow. So,
yeah, it's definitely a fun thing. And who would have thought this many years later, 45 years later, that we would find this piece of information? Okay, here's next up, Dick Warlock. Dick Warlock is Michael. I'm wearing the Michael Myers 2 shirt. Today.
Nice.
Yeah, and Dick Warlock is, to me, that's the second most important Michael Myers. I feel like these two guys are the bulk of your Halloween movies. These are the guys who scared you as your kid. These are both clients of yours, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And Dick Warlock is another gentleman who I believe is also in his 80s. And
Yeah.
he's threatened to retire from this business of conventions before. So
Yeah.
I say if you're going to come out to this convention and you're building a Halloween collection, I would start with Dick Warlock. That's my
Yeah.
defense. I'm going to. I will tell you that. Now, let's see who else we have here. Tommy Lee Wallace, which is
Who
also
not only played Michael Myers in some key scenes in the first Halloween, the closet scene, most notable, smashing through the closet. And he directed Halloween 3. He also edited the original Halloween and was the set decorator and the guy who bought the Shatner mask and converted it into a Michael Myers mask.
Yeah, so really important in that Halloween history. And so for a lot of people, Halloween 3, people they don't like it, and the reason they don't like it is because Michael Myers wasn't in it. Sean, you're one of the first people to sort of bring back Halloween 3 as its own standalone movie. I sometimes feel like you can watch 1, 2, and then go to 4, but you can watch Halloween 3 in any time you want as a really kind of fun movie. And if you discount the fact that yes, it's Haddonfield, but no, Michael Myers isn't in there, it's a good movie with a fun story.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a film that's definitely found its audience. It's suddenly just as popular as the first film, I think, right now. It's really found its audience.
Catchy jingle that everybody sings now at Halloween. The images of the masks are now sold everywhere and people are into it. And yeah, like you said, it's kind of come into its own now. For a lot of years, it was the ugly redheaded stepchild of Halloween, but people are enjoying it again. Okay, so Tom Morga, that's Halloween 4. You have to explain that to me.
Well, he was originally hired to play Myers in part 4. He did all of the scenes as bandaged Michael, and then he did the first reveal scene, putting the mask on in the hardware store. And then, since they shot the movie out of order, he also did the scenes with Kathleen Kinmont where he's sitting in the chair and he stands up with the shotgun and he sticks her up against the wall. And then he ended up getting fired, and they replaced him with George Wilbur, who finished the movie. Gotcha. And George is the Myers that in the whole movie looks like this. He's all stiff looking, like has no neck.
Yeah. He's since passed away, not too long ago.
Yeah, very recent.
Yeah, I was fortunate to meet him at some of these shows because, it's funny. Halloween 4 was the first movie of Halloween that I saw in the theater. Halloween 1 and 2, maybe I was a little young at the time. Halloween 3, but Halloween 4 I saw in the theater, and I was kind of excited that Michael Myers was back. I had watched the other ones on TV, and I think a lot of people feel that way. They kind of liked the Danielle Harris movies, 4 and 5 at that time. Okay, so that's Tom. And let's see what else we have here. Halloween 5, Don Shanks.
Yep, he was Michael in part 5. Also back to Tom Morga, he also played Jason in Friday 13th part 5. He also played Leatherface in one scene in Texas Chainsaw Massacre part 2. So he's the only guy who's played all 3 icons.
How crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Don Shanks also played the killer. He stunt doubled the killer in Silent Night, Deadly Night. So he's also the Santa killer in key scenes in that.
Nice. Do you have a photo of Tom Morga with the 3 characters on it, like a composite?
No, we don't. I don't think. Yeah, I think we have a one photo that's a split of a Jason mask and a Myers mask.
Gotcha.
He doesn't like to brag about the Leatherface thing. He thinks, I only did one scene. I'm like, dude, you did a important scene. He's the one in the back of the truck holding nubbins and saws the yuppies' heads. I mean, it's a long scene too.
It's more than Tony Moran's involvement in the Halloween movie. Okay,
that's not saying much, but yeah. And Michael Lerner. So the story on him is George Wilbur was brought back for part 6 for some reason, and he ended up getting let go, and they reshot the ending of the movie and added in a bunch of gore scenes with Michael Lerner playing Myers, who looks way better in the costume. George Wilbur looked a little overweight. You can definitely tell the two apart.
And then okay, and then we get to H2O, Chris Duran.
Chris Duran played Myers through that whole film. He also played Ghostface in Scream 2 in several scenes because they like to switch the guys out to keep you guessing on size and build. And
Brad Lorry, Halloween Resurrection.
Also the only guy to play Myers in that film.
Okay.
Canadian. That's the only Halloween film that wasn't shot in the U.S.
Right, shot all in Canada. Then we got from the Rob Zombie movies, Tyler Mane, Halloween 1 and 2 of those Rob Zombie movies. Those are not my favorites. Yeah, James Jude Courtney, which is from the recent trilogy, right?
Yep, he did all 3 of those.
Okay, now I don't know how you say his name. Aaron.
It's Aaron Armstrong. He was the flashback Myers in Halloween Kills, and he also doubled James in some scenes in Halloween Ends.
Right.
But he's the only flashback Myers in Kills.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Passing Doug Tate. Doug Tate, he doubled James in Halloween Kills in basically one scene. And he also played Jason in Freddy vs. Jason at the very end of the film when they reshot the ending of him in the water and walks out with Freddy's head and all that. They decided not to go back to Vancouver for that, so they didn't use Ken Kersinger. They hired a local guy, which was Doug Tate, and he got to do that scene. So he's played both Michael and Jason, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, a rare thing. So that's the beginning names that have been announced. We got some time. The question that everyone's going to want to know, and you probably can't answer it. Jamie Lee Curtis, is she going to be at this convention?
Totally up to her. I mean, she said yes at one point, count her in 100%, and then things happen. Oscars get won, stuff like that. She's the one thing that happens when you win an Oscar as an actor or actress, you suddenly become very busy because everybody wants you in their project because they can put Academy Award winner Jamie Lee Curtis. So I'm confident that if she is available, she'll be there. But the last time I spoke to her, she didn't want to commit this far in advance because she didn't know where she would be, and she doesn't want to let the fans down by announcing and having to cancel. So,
okay, you're the only person, to my knowledge, who has worked with her on a public appearance like this, right?
Yeah, she did one convention that was in 2012, Horror Hound Weekend, Indianapolis, and it was all 100% for charity. Even my 10% went to charity. We raised it was $182,000 for the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles.
18,000 of your money went to charity.
Yeah, 18 grand. I hope those kids loved it. And then around the time of Halloween Kills, just before the pandemic, we were talking. She reached out and we were discussing doing another one because she thought the fans of the new films should get an opportunity to meet her. And we had something planned, and then the pandemic happened, and it snuffed it out. And here we are. Her and I were talking towards the middle of last year, and we were talking. She wanted to do something last year, and I may have, maybe I should have struck while the iron was hot, so to speak, and went with it. And I said, well, in a perfect world, I would rather you wait till next year and do the 45th convention because you should be there. And then she said, that's it, done. Let's do it. 100%. Lock me in. So that was like a year ago. So.
Yeah, you told me an interesting story about doing some DVD commentary with her where she's not a fan of horror movies, right? or watching
Not
them?
at all. I mean, she appreciates her fans and that people love these movies, but she is very admittedly a scaredy cat. I mean, she wouldn't even watch her own movie. She asked me to let her know when the scary parts were coming when we were doing the commentary for Halloween H2O. So
she her father is buried not too far from here, and he's in the same cemetery as Red Fox. A little bit of Las Vegas,
oh wow.
location history. Okay, let's see. Trying to get to everybody's question. Is Jamie still married to Nigel Tufnell? Yes, she is.
Yes, she is. In fact, one time, well, it's kind of a funny story. I don't know if I've told you this one or if you even know about it, but in 1992, they did a Spinal Tap drummer tryout, and it was at the LA Coliseum. And I spent the night out in front of the Coliseum. I was first in line. I ended up being contestant number 1, and I was on like MTV's Week in Rock, Entertainment Tonight. There was a picture of me with Spinal Tap and my number 1 thing on my chest in BAM magazine, which was a local magazine in the LA area, free magazine you'd get at like Tower Records and stuff. And anyway, I told her that story, and she was blown away when I showed her the picture. I went to her house one time, and she brings out this like it was actually one of these, oddly enough, because she sent this to me. This was from the Halloween Ends premiere. She mailed this to me. So,
Oh, very cool.
and anyway, she had one of these, and in it was a piece of paper, and it was like torn out piece of paper that had a bunch of names written on it, and one of them was Spinal Tap. And she said, you know what this is? And I'm like, what is it? She goes, this was the piece of paper that Michael McKeon and Christopher Guest were sitting down writing ideas for names for what became Spinal Tap. And the only one that sticks out in my head was Jumbo Prawns. The Jumbo Prawns. I'm glad they went with Spinal Tap.
Yeah, the things went the way they needed to.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a question. I don't know if Sean can answer it. Why did Tom Morgan get fired from H4?
Honestly, he doesn't know. He said they never told him. He said that they just basically said, you're no longer needed. And he was let go. He thinks it was a personal thing with the stunt coordinator. In that world, if you're not in tight with the stunt coordinator, you're hosed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, BAM magazine was LA and San Francisco, I believe, were the major cities that magazine came out in.
Yeah, absolutely.
I miss that magazine. Love those mags.
Yeah, in New York, we had the Village Voice, all these cool magazines where musicians couldn't see what was going on. And now everybody's stuck with the internet. Let's see what else.
My favorite thing is you get an old BAM magazine and just go look through the ads for the shows and just read all the bands playing the Troubadour or the Roxy or, the lineups. And you just go, holy shit, Motley Crue playing with RATT and, and Stryper playing with Slayer. I mean, you're just like, what?
Yeah. Some of those bills are crazy. Jizzy Pearl has a YouTube show, and every now and then he'll open up an old BAM and he'll go through the names, and it's so funny to see, how many made it, but also how many didn't make it. Okay, here's.
Man, I was a little later, because I was an '80s kid where I was hanging out on the Sunset Strip at 14, 1984, 85, 86, in that era, the heyday, the hair day, if you will. And, but I didn't start playing in bands until my first band, real band, was like 89. And I ended up going in more of the hardcore scene. And then in the early 90s, ended up in, I guess, what now would be called like the new metal scene. We would have fit perfectly on that bill this past weekend in Vegas, Sick New World. In fact, a lot of those guys are friends of mine, we played with back in the day. And oddly enough, our singer is a Vegas native and still lives there, Frankie Perez. So a lot of people might know from Deadland Rituals and Apocalyptica, and he was the singer of Malfunction.
Yeah, and well, you were associated with a lot of those elementary kind of guys, a lot of the Florida scene, a lot of the Jonathan Davis scene, a lot of those guys and that music. Nick's got a question I want to get to, which was, will Andy and Judy Greer be coming to age 45?
I haven't personally spoken to either of them. Somebody told me that Andy, this is just what I heard, that a fan asked Andy and she said she was going to be there. I know that when Jamie said she was coming, that she would get them there. She was like, I'll make sure they're there. And Kyle Richards, and she was, dropping all the big names, but I don't know how that goes if she doesn't come, So right now we've been focused on getting all the Myers announced. We have no shortage of guests. In fact, I had a call today with Nathan, just trying to figure out how we're going to manage having all these guests, because there's too many. I think we're going to have to do certain guests Saturday only, certain guests Sunday only, the less significant roles. Obviously the Myers guys are going to be there both days. The final girls are there both days. But the smaller characters, I think we're going to have to swap them out between days. Otherwise, we just won't have room for everybody.
Is Kyle Richards the holy grail of Halloween guests now?
I mean, I still think it's Jamie for most people.
Aside from Jamie, yeah.
I think she's a tough one because she doesn't do conventions and she doesn't really do signings much. I mean, she did a private signing with a company not too long ago, but I mean, I've met her a few times. I was on set of Kills, but I'd met her prior to that and got all my stuff signed, so I'm good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's you covered your bases. Yeah, she seems to be the one who's held out, but I feel like at some point, like you said, she did do a private signing. Maybe at some point, people will join in. It's this is the time, Halloween 45. I hate to be morbid, but not everyone's going to be around for Halloween 50.
I agree. I mean, we've talked about that. It's, even some of those clients you've mentioned have said to me they don't know how much longer they can do these things, because it's exhausting, sitting there all day meeting fans and talking and being enthusiastic and because you got to be on at these things. When fans come up to me, you can't just be like, oh, hey, how you doing? Yeah, you got to be like, hey, how's it going? You want to give them a great experience, so you're on the whole time, and by the end of the day, man, you're just drained.
Yeah, and you get asked the same question, every other person, and it's difficult. And for some of these people, this was a very small part of their lives, and now they're going to spend a weekend saying the same things over. But as you said, convention guests who are personable get more business. It's almost a little bit cliquey, I find. It's like that in the music business too. You go on these cruises, and a guy like Ted Poley or John Corabi, not the biggest stars in the world, but people love them because they're out and about and they're the captain and the mayor and they shake those hands and they smile and they become a part of it. What's the girl's name from Sleepaway Camp? Felissa Rose. That's a prime example. She's almost at every single convention. You would think anyone who wanted her autograph has it, but people they love her because she's so into it and talking and chatting with the fans and people enjoy it.
Yeah, and she hangs out at the bar after hours and parties with fans, and it's become like a thing. Yeah.
CJ Graham, someone brings up. CJ Graham's a great example. He was a security guard here at the Palms Hotel. My friends and I would see him and take pictures with him on his shift. And then I think people realize there's money out there and there's fans who want to see it. Sean, when you and I went to these conventions in the mid 90s, it was a different thing. We used to go to this thing called the Hollywood Collectors Show at the place called Beverly Garland. And you would pay, for most guests, you would pay $5 for a black and white photo and $10 for a color photo. And the people you were meeting were some of the biggest legends. You and I both talked about meeting Don Knotts, several times, or the Ropers, or people that you just never thought. and a lot of Western guests. Dan O'Herlihy, though, we talked about from
Yeah.
Halloween 3. He was already at the point in his age where he was starting to slip a little bit, maybe at the beginning of Alzheimer's. You asked him to sign a Halloween 3 item, right?
I had him sign several Halloween 3 items, and I asked him to write his character name on one of them, and he didn't know what it was, and I said what it was, and he kind of looked at me blankly, and his wife, who was sitting with him, said, "Could you write that down?" So I wrote it on a piece of paper, and she put it in front of him, and he looked at it, and he just kind of copied it, and you could tell he wasn't all there. It was definitely the dementia or Alzheimer's were kicking in, So
I feel like he was in his 90s already, though. I think he was pretty
he was
up
up there. Yeah.
And it was exciting. And the people that we meet as you go through these photos, it's crazy that, that we had those opportunities. At the moment, you figure, oh, I'll see these people again or whatever. But it was a different world of conventions. Some of the bigger shows hadn't happened yet. They did for sports players and things like that. But as these conventions that you're traveling to every weekend happened, prices went up. And also people started understanding that you're going to pay for this. A lot of actors were embarrassed about taking the money. They felt uncomfortable. But now people board these conventions and they know that it's an experience going to a Comic-Con, that you pay for some time or a picture with your favorite celebrity. You've done a good job of keeping your celebrities at a fair price. Sometimes some people gouge, and I know people have come to you and said, "I want more, right? I should be charging more."
Yeah, I mean it's a tug of war, I tried to be as fan friendly as possible. I tried, when some of them will come to me and say, I should be charging as much as that guy over there, I let them know. It's like, well, look, if you raise it, those people that buy 2 items may only buy 1 now. And, I kind of say, look, would you rather have a big line of people or a short line or no line at all? It's cool to have a big line. It looks cool. That's a better look. When you got no line and you're sitting there at an empty table, plus I always try to say, look, the busier you are, the quicker the day goes by. If you have lulls, the day drags. So I try to push them into the less is more, less price, more business. And I've even experimented with a few of them and said, hey, look, we'll raise your price like you want. Let's see where we're at the end of the weekend. And sometimes it evens out because they lose some business, I think you should at least be fan friendly, give them a great experience. They walk away happier and talking about how you weren't the guy that was gouging them,
And there's some of the people you represent. Nick Castle comes to mind. I think that most people aren't going to get one signature unless you charge them, a ridiculous, Star Trek kind of price or Star Wars. But I think that you're going to get more. And most people who are going up to Nick Castle probably have 2 or 3 Halloween mementos that they want signed. So
much merchandise now. It's crazy.
Right. There's so much to choose from. That was another thing. When we were going to those conventions, you were lucky if you found a couple cool pieces or you were getting vintage pieces. Now there's so much stuff every day. So, and then some people took on the sports thing where now every size is a different price. If it's a poster, it's this much. If it's a double poster, if it's a sign, if it's a microwave oven, if it's a baseball, if it's a whatever ridiculous thing, they have a list of prices, which gets a little bit trickier too, because now you have Christopher Lloyd comes to mind. Christopher Lloyd has a guy who will sit there and look at every item you have, and he'll go, okay, well, that's a hoverboard, so that's going to be this much, and that's a pair of sneakers, that's this much, and then if you want to take a picture with them, that's this much. At the end of the day, an autograph and a picture with Christopher Lloyd could cost you $300. And it's now I don't know how long.
I don't do that. I mean, I have a client or two that has made me do that. Like, this is what I want to do, and ultimately they're the boss at the end of the day. But I don't do that. I don't. charge. I know some people like to charge more for pop figures because they call it a premium item, you know. And it's like, to me, it takes you just as long to sign a pop as it does a picture, as it does a poster, as it does a DVD. You're paying for the autograph. I don't think you should be punished or penalized for it being a toy, you know. I mean, I've actually seen some celebrities gouge when they see that you're the last autograph they need. You know, I famously, the chick from Lost in Space,
June Lockhart.
Cartwright,
Yeah.
June Lockhart.
June, yeah.
She, I was at a Hollywood collector show, Beverly Garland, and I saw it happen. This guy put this poster down, signed by the entire cast, and she said $500, and the guy's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" You know, and she's all, "I'm the last autograph you need. That's how much it is."
It's insane. And
Yeah.
Adam West had a manager. You talk about this again. If you guys are interested in this agent kind of talk, you got to go to Malfunsean's YouTube channel and watch it, because it's a great discussion of this business. But Adam West had a manager who's passed now, who would make up prices based on the item. Well, that has this guy, so it should be that. No prices were ever consistent, and there was never a sign.
Yeah.
So some of those things left bad experiences with people. And I think, as you said, most of your guests seem to trust in the way you handle it and the representation of it. You wouldn't have this many guests this long if they didn't trust you and like the business. A guy like Nick Castle, who was on the fence about it, now has realized it's a good thing, and I think he appreciates being able to go out and make a little money, meet some people, have some fun.
Well, I have a client, I'm not going to say who it is, who in the past like 2 years has just seen a massive uptick in his popularity. And, you know, he's like 6 times what he used to make. Right. And he said to me, you know, "I think it's time, you know, we raise the price." And I said to him, are you not happy with the money you're making? Every weekend is a new record, and you're like, your mind is blown. Why fix what's not broken? You know, and you know, I've been winning that battle so far, but you know, it's you know, I try to explain to him, it's like, you know, are you not entertained? No, I don't know. Yeah, you know, you're not happy with it. I mean, come on. There's a reason you're doing this good. Don't mess with the machine. The machine is working, you know?
Yeah, you can price yourself out of the market. It can happen. And
I've seen it happen to people, man. Yeah, a guy that comes to mind, what's his name? Apollo Creed.
Carl Weathers. Yeah, his prices.
Carl Weathers' prices are insane. I see him sitting at shows doing no business because people walk up to his table and then they see the price and they go, "What the fuck?" You know? I mean, it's
completely crazy, and everything has a different price. Boxing gloves, boxing trunks, boxing shoes, action figure, toy.
Like, buddy, hey, you're not a boxer, all right? You're not Muhammad Ali. You're not Mike Tyson. So, you know.
And he would probably make much more by signing at a fair price. Probably people would be lined up for him all day. But because some people have this resale thing, I sometimes think once the person's paid for it, what they do with that autograph is their business. If they want to resell it, who cares? You were paid.
I completely agree. That I've had that argument so many times with clients. We're like, "Well, he's just going to turn around and sell it." It's like, so what? Who cares? You know? I mean, you can turn around and sell anything you've bought. You buy a car today, you could turn around and sell it tomorrow if you want. Who cares? You're getting what your price is. What do you care what they do with it? You know?
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Live to Jam. Thank you for the super chat. Warwick Davis, I heard about this. I heard his prices are insane.
Yeah, it's the only thing about him that is high, not his height.
That is true. Yeah, I heard he was charging over $100 a signature. It doesn't make sense. Some of these, whoever's handling some of these Star Wars people seems to get a little crazy. let's see. Someone had a good question for you. I just want to make sure I get it. A lot of people talk about Art the Clown, Terrifier. Sean, this is a question I meant to ask you. I've never seen these movies. I'm behind on this. Terrifier, are these good horror movies?
I mean, they're not
You
for me
represent
personally.
someone. You
I
represent
do
someone.
represent people from both films. I don't represent Art the Clown, but I do represent like the female leads in both. Um, they're not for me. It's kind of a gratuitous gore thing, which I'm not a big fan of. I mean, I like a good gore effect in a film, but I don't like movies that depend solely on that. Um, I can see the appeal for some people, but it's just not my cup of tea.
I
But it's
haven't.
very popular. There's no doubt it's very popular.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but that is exactly what I was thinking. I knew that it was gory, and that's just not my. Gore for the sake of gore isn't my thing. I like a movie with a story. I think the reason we all like Halloween so much was it wasn't built on gore. Let's see, but I get. Hey, listen, that Art the Clown image, I'm seeing it everywhere, and people getting it tattooed, and so. Let's see,
Yeah, it's a cool character,
yeah, and Image too. Carl Weathers had a long line at his first Monster Mania. His second one is when he jacked up and there were dust mills passing his table dead. And that is what happens.
Yeah.
People get crazy.
But then certain guys like him demand a guarantee. So then they don't care because they're going to still get X amount, and who does that hurt? That hurts the promoter.
Yeah. So what you're saying for those who don't understand is so he gets guaranteed no matter what he signs, he's still making his money. Sometimes you got to charge crazy prices to cover that guarantee, right?
Yeah, but I mean, a smart promoter won't take that deal.
Well,
I mean, a smart promoter would have it in the contract that they can't charge more than X amount, so they know that they're going to hit those numbers, because if you know your show and you know your crowd of people, your fans, you're pretty in tune with what people make. I mean, I rarely ever have a client not hit their guarantee. I mean, I don't do guarantees very often. If it's a show that I have faith in, that like a Texas Frightmare, Monster Mania, Chiller, uh, Horror Hound, I don't ask for guarantees because if you can't make money there, you can't make money anywhere. If it's this little show out in the middle of nowhere that I barely heard of, I want to make sure if my people go there, they're going to get X amount, So
what's coming up? What's the next shows you're going to?
next weekend, Texas Frightmare
That's a big
in
one.
Dallas. That's a big one. I got like 25 clients there. It's going to be crazy. I'm stressing hard, to be honest with you. Got a lot to do before next weekend. This weekend, I'm going to Cruel World Fest. I'm not super excited about festival shows, but there's a lot of bands I really like on that one. I'm going to.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll see you next week because I'm going to go see The Cure. I'll be there.
What day are you going?
All of them. So.
Oh, I'm there Tuesday. We'll definitely meet up at some point.
Yeah, we'll make sure to get together. I'm fortunate that Michelle lives across the street, not too far, so I can walk there because the Hollywood Bowl is one of the least convenient venues you'll ever find. Yeah.
Oh, I know. Parking's terrible.
Yeah, and then I used to come out and stay at the Best Western there on Highland, and then walk. You still got to walk up a hill and then down a hill and up a hill. A legendary venue, but I don't know if they were really prepared for what it would become. I'm going to come out to see a show that you're doing, which is the one in Colorado. I think it's called what's that one called? Denver.
Crypticon?
No, it's not that one.
Dallas, Denver Fan Expo, Denver.
Fan Expo, yeah. That one seems like a good show. They got. I like the Vacation people. I saw they added Christy Brinkley and Randy Quaid, and that sold it on me. So I'll definitely see you at that one.
Hope Randy shows up. He did. He finally showed up to one.
That's right. So we're going to see. I mean, I've gone to a few of those shows.
You got a taste of it. So hopefully he comes back for more.
Yeah, that's what I think. Back for more, no pun intended. I'll be in Cleveland with RATT this weekend. Or Stephen Piercy. let's see. And people suggesting places. Irving Convention Center, next to the Toyota. Lots of good places to eat and drink out there. Sean, you must have favorite places in every city you go to by now.
Oh yeah, as far as what the
Eating and
actual
yeah,
what's that?
like places to go eat or what you're going to do when you're in a city.
Yeah. I mean, this Texas Frightmare, they moved, so it's a new location. So I don't know what's right there. But yeah, I'm definitely certain towns. Like if I go to Chicago, I'll try to go to Kuma's Corner or something, or there's a Kuma's also in Indianapolis now. So if I go out to Whorehound there, try to go there, or um, I definitely have favorite places I try to hit when I come to town.
Yeah, that's the more you travel, the more you start to know. This question, a few people have asked about James Remar. Was James Remar easy to work with?
Well, he's a close friend, but in the beginning, no, he was not easy to work with. He was very difficult, but now we're really close. In fact, he makes an appearance in one of my new Horrors Hallowed Grounds episodes, in a completely unrelated film. He has nothing to do with. He's in Toronto right now filming the prequel to it, the Welcome to Deary series. And so we had talked about getting together, and my schedule was so tight. He's like, well, where are you going to be today? And I told him the locations, and one of them was real close to his hotel. So he met us, Scott and I, at the location, and I told him what I was filming for it. And there's a scene where a man is standing. I don't want to say what it is, but there's a scene where this man is waiting for somebody, and the camera pulls in on him. And I showed him, this is the scene. He goes, "Oh, you want me to be the man?" And I go, "Absolutely." So he has a cameo in the episode.
Nice. That's very cool. It's one of the things I like best about your episodes of Horrors Hallowed Grounds is when you bring some of the people with you, PJ Souls, and you go to the spot and see their reactions. I like when I have some musicians with me, I sometimes like to go to a famous place and see their opinions and see it for the first time with them. And I think it adds a different approach to just showing something. I think the actors enjoy it too. Uh,
Yeah. In fact, we've been talking about this for over a year, but I had dinner with Devin Sawa while I was in Toronto because he's there filming season 3 of Chucky. We had dinner at actually one of the locations from American Psycho. And we've been talking about doing an Idle Hands.
oh, Sean froze up.
Happened. There we go. I don't know what happened there.
Okay.
Anyway, all right. What I was saying, I don't know if you could hear me. We've been talking about doing an Idle Hands episode, and so as soon as he gets back from Toronto, we're gonna finally shoot that Idle Hands episode.
Yeah,
and
it's very cool.
And oddly enough, just because he's a super fan, Spencer Charnas from Ice Nine Kills is going to join us on that episode.
Nice. Yeah, I think it adds a different twist. There's so many people who can go show you something, but the camaraderie about showing it with someone and someone who's in the movie, I think makes it better. Someone says maybe the writer's strike will free up Jamie Lee. The last one lasted over a year. There could be some.
I hate to say it, but
yeah, there could be some vacancies. The writer's strike could last a minute. Let's see here. I'm not sure what this means. It's I guess we're talking about Ozzy. Even Ozzy's too old for 250, in my opinion. I think we're talking about ticket sales. I don't know how many more concerts you're going to see Ozzy. I would say if you haven't seen him, you better pay whatever they ask because I don't know how many more times he's going to be on stage. Let's see here. Just trying to get to everybody's.
I see somebody's asking if I'm excited to visit Danvers again for Silver Scream Con. Yeah, I'll definitely go by Danvers because the show is in Danvers, so I'll go by there and see it probably again.
Yeah, as I was saying, one of the great things about traveling is the amount of things that you can stumble onto. And then sometimes you probably weren't even thinking about filming an episode. And then you go, oh, well, that's pretty easy, or that's here. You know, I never like to ask people what they want to do next, because that's part of the surprise. If you told everybody what you're looking, there could be 10 videos by morning of that same place.
Well, that is a problem, especially now that the filming location thing has gotten so competitive. We all try to kind of keep it as private as possible. You know, but I feel pretty confident nobody's going to get an American Psycho episode done before I'm finished editing this episode. So, and I guarantee you this, nobody's going to do it as thoroughly as I did it, as we found stuff people have never found before. Like stuff, as you go online, you can Google stuff nowadays, but there are locations that we found nobody's found. So once my video's out there, then people can take that and use it as a template to make their own video. But the real fans know who was first.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, here's a question. It's a random one, but what do you think of Devil's Rejects and or House of a Thousand Corpses?
I like them. I think it's funny. When I saw House of Thousand Corpses, I was kind of like, eh. Then I saw Rejects and I thought it was great. Well, the funny thing is, over time, my opinion of House of Thousand Corpses has gotten better, and my opinion of Devil's Rejects has dropped a little bit. It didn't age as well. But over time, I think House of Thousand Corpses kind of has aged a little better.
I think I feel the same. When I first saw it, I said, okay, this tribute to kind of Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the old 70s horror movies with the first one. I thought it was okay, not great. I thought The Devil's Rejects was better. I saw it at a screening here, film festival called CinemaCon, and Rob Zombie and Sherry sat behind me with Nicolas Cage. It was an interesting people to experience the movie with, and I really loved it. Now I've seen it, and you know, it has aged differently. That the third one for me was completely unwatchable, though.
I've only seen the third one once. I went to the premiere. You know, I have a couple clients in the movie. You know, it was very low budget. I think one of the things that kind of hurt Three from Hell was I felt like certain scenes felt like a remake of Devil's Rejects. Yeah. I mean, it was kind of lacking some originality, and I understand Rob had difficulties because obviously Sid Haig, I don't know if you know the story, but Sid Haig wasn't cleared by the insurance company to film. So he had to be cut from the script, and they had to completely rewrite it and add in this other brother or whatever, which was Richard Brake's character. And basically they kind of shot the Sid Haig scene on the down low. And it was the last thing he ever did, you know, as he passed soon after. So with all those circumstances surrounding it, I understand why the film is a little uneven, you know?
Yeah, no, that's definitely part of it. And it is, but for me, it was a little hard, hard to watch. Maybe sometimes I do better watching a movie in a theater because I feel like I can't get up and leave, and my attention is forced on the movie. There's things I watch at home that I'm quick to turn off. I went to a screening the other night of a thing called Fast X, which is Fast and the Furious 97, I think. I've never seen one of these movies before. And I don't feel like I missed anything by seeing this.
I've never seen any of them.
I'm glad I'm not alone. It was an interesting experience. But you can see it if you've never seen the other 35. Okay, let's see here. Great. Sean, thanks again for signing my Echoes Pond Blu-ray at the Full Moon Convention in Nashville. It was awesome meeting you and Academy Award-winning Mr. Christopher Nelson.
Nice meeting you too, and thanks for being one of 10 people that have brought me that DVD to sign. No, I've signed quite a few of them, but it's funny when they pop up. It's a movie I wrote and produced called The Black Waters of Echoes Pond, starring Daniel Harris and James Duvall and Robert Patrick. It was a fun little film. It's no masterpiece by any means.
It's funny because we have other similarities. I started writing with trauma and horror movies and things like that long before these other things. Sean, you have one of those careers that you can't just say, well, Sean is this. Well, he's an agent. Well, that's not enough. Well, he's a YouTube and he's a documentarian and he's a filmmaker and he's a musician. And that's kind of how my life has been too. Sort of whatever I'm doing today is what I'll say I do. But for the most part, it's always going in some different a different direction. You know, we talked about this a little bit when we were on the phone. Sometimes, you know, people are recognizing you now from your channel. There's a Malfunsean Sean Clark audience as well. Sometimes when you're sitting at a table, in the older days, I think it was easier for you to sit with somebody, Norman Reedus or somebody, and collect money. But now people are recognizing you as well. This is a similar thing I have happened when I travel with Stephen Piercy. There's people who watch this show and then they ask me to take pictures, which is very nice, or sign things. And so what do your clients think of your fame?
Most of them think it's great. You know, most of them think it's really funny. I've only had a couple be put off by somebody walking up to me and a celebrity and saying, "Oh, do you mind if I get a photo with you?" And the celebrity going, "Oh yeah, no problem." And no, him, you know, and they're like, oh, you know, I've had that happen. Like one actress in particular seemed very put off by it, like that she was being asked to take the photo.
Right, they asked her to take the photo. Yeah,
I don't think they had a clue who she was. They really didn't know who she was. They just knew me, you know. But you know, whatever.
It's a nice problem to have that people care. You know, I'm in no position to tell anyone no, but when we're in the middle of a meet and greet, I have to say if Steven's okay. And you know, people sometimes will ask me to sign something stupid like his book or something. Well, why would I sign that? I'll sign the back of something but people like the show, which is great, and he likes it. He finds it funny. He's entertained by it. He tunes into the show. Juan Crucier, when I toured with RATT, I don't think he liked it. He was confused by why there was girls in a parking lot asking me for pictures. Thomas says Stephen to take a picture of me and him. Stephen probably won't even know how to use your phone.
Well, one thing that seems to happen a lot is I'll say, and I really don't work clients' tables anymore because so many people are coming up to me talking to me about stuff that it ends up annoying the client I'm supposed to be working for. The only person I really sit with now is if I'm at a show with Christopher Nelson, I'll sit and work with him because usually people are coming up or fans of our podcast or whatever. So, but it happens a lot where I'll be hanging out with somebody and they'll pay for a photo with the celebrity and they'll go, "Sean, would you jump in too?" And I'll go, "Okay." And, you know, so the fan is in the middle and we're standing there, you know, and I know sometimes people are like, the celebrities kind of like, they want Sean in the picture, you know, it's like, whatever, you know, it's cool. I'm just flattered anybody gives a shit. You know, you know, people all the time will message me and go, "Hey, I saw you at so-and-so. I saw you at this concert the other night and I didn't want to bother you." I'm like, come up and say hi, man. You know, I'm just a guy. It's no big deal. You know, we went and saw Mr. Bungle, the Melvins and Mr. Bungle Thursday night at the Hollywood Palladium. I mean, as soon as I walked in, people were coming, "Hey, love the podcast, blah, blah, blah." You know, well, cool. You know, it was great. I love that. It just shows that we have support. That's great. You know,
and it shows that the things you're doing are working, especially with YouTube. To be successful on here, you have to have a connection with an audience. If people wouldn't tune in to watch you, you know, I'm really sort of protective about doing any other interviews. I feel like I talk on here so much. What would someone want to hear me on someone else's show? But I've watched you on a lot of different podcasts, and a lot of people get different things, and some of the hosts are really good. But then there's other channels that are going to come and go. And so you have to have something that people like, and for them to come up to tell you that they like what you do is a good thing, because it only helps to keep doing more of it. I want to make sure that people go to Malfunsean on YouTube, because
probably not the best name for a channel. I mean, I honestly feel like it's been a deterrent on the channel growing because it's not catchy. It's not easy to spell. It was just a nickname because I was in a band called Malfunction and our guitar player's name was Al, and everybody called him Alfunction. That to this day, he's a guitar tech for Clutch. Everybody still calls him Alfunction. And so as a joke, I said, well, I'm Malfunction, you know. And it always seemed like, you know, like if you went and you did like Instagram or Twitter or something, that would be a name you could put in, nobody would have, you know, because it's so random and spelt differently. But as far as getting yourself out there and having a name for a channel, it's a terrible name. You know, something like Grim Life Collective, Adam the Woo, Scott on Tape. Those are more memorable and easier to find. I've considered changing my channel name quite a bit, to be honest with you. I just laziness and I mean, because all my social media is Malfunction, so it's kind of like, you know, it's a thing you struggle with. And as soon as you change it, some asshole is gonna take that name and start their own channel and try to bite on your shit. So,
well, I think at this point, people know they can search Sean Clark or any combination of Horrors Hallowed Grounds.
a lot of people have suggested I just change it to Sean Clark.
I was told once a while ago that keeping your name in the channel is keeping your brand. When I started this, I thought, you know, I'll waste some time with Jason Green was the name. Waste some time. I just want to waste some time with you was the name of a song I wrote. That'll be the theme song, and I'll just put this up. I didn't realize, you know, a year later that the channel would be so popular. And I sometimes wonder maybe this name is a little long. And when people tell me, "Whoa, what's the name of your channel?" and then I have to go, "Well, it's Waste Some Time with Jason Green." And some people remember, and some people don't. Jason Holstein says he just subscribed to Sean's channel. Very interesting interview.
I got one.
We got one. But that's the other thing. If you subscribe, then you're already in. You only got to find it once because then these things will be suggested to you. And then you're up at 4 a.m. watching Sean go to George Romero's grave, which I enjoyed. That's when I get things recommended, and I say, okay, it's time to catch up. Matt Lucas says, I've been watching Sean for quite a few years now. It all started, search YouTube, Hollywood 7 to 8 filming locations. I think that's how I originally found Sean as well. Then I recognized him from some of the other things and conventions. But I think that, filming locations, Sean was doing it way from the beginning. A lot of people are going to check out the channel. Oh, wait. A So of Violence. You got two, Sean. A guy named So of Violence should have already been a subscriber of Sean. But
no, thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm
really, creeping up to 40,000 subscribers. So,
which is great.
Yeah. Which is great. I want to hit that 100. I want to hit that 100. That's when I'll feel like I've really made it. You know, you get that plaque from YouTube, you know?
Yeah, I'm with you. The plaque is it's all about the plaque.
I was admiring Scott's plaque at his house, I have to admit.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I think if he hasn't, he's about to hit 200,000 subscribers. So he deserves it. He works his fucking ass off. He's a hard worker. He's passionate about what he does. You know, the one thing, you know, there are some that are popular that I think are kind of frauds in my book. You can tell when the people are really passionate about what they're doing, you know. People have asked me to do certain movies, and I just say, you know, I've had DVD companies hit me up and say, "Oh, would you be willing to do a Horrors Hallowed Grounds for this movie?" And I'm like, I'm not a fan of the movie. If I'm not a fan, I'm not going to do it. I'm doing it for me first. You know, I have to enjoy it. And one thing, my favorite compliment. Oh, thank you, Mark Williams. I appreciate that. My favorite compliment I get is that people say when they watch my episode, they feel like they're just hanging out with me. They feel like I'm a friend, and they're hanging out, and they feel like they're a part of it. You know, if you watch some of these people that do these things, you know, it doesn't have to be just movie locations. It could be anything that you're covering for a vlog or whatever. And you can tell they're just trying to get content, that they're just trying to put stuff up. And the thing that drives me crazier than anything on these fucking things is when you can tell that they're intentionally stretching the episode out. Like they're sitting there going slowly, looking at things. Oh, look at that. Oh, it's like, for fuck's sake, just get to it, just.
It makes me crazy. Yeah. Get to the point.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I find when you film a location. I shot so many things that I wasn't. Then I was like, you know what? All I did is go, there's the location, to make people feel what you're feeling. Because most of the places that we go to do bring back a feeling. A really, sometimes, especially seeing the Myers house for the first time. It's incredible. It's really amazing. And so I try now in videos to explain what it's like to see something that I've seen as a child, that I've probably thought about most of my life, and also never thought I would be there. And so, like you said, you want to be real. People, you get to go do something with somebody. If you just want to look at a picture of it, you can go online. So it's a matter of having someone there to show you and give you some facts and things that we didn't just randomly Google, some things that we like. Let's see here. Matt says he loves Adam the Woo, Grim Life, Tampa J, Chris the Girl. I don't know that one.
That's Tampa J's fiance. She has her own channel.
Okay. Justin Scared or Scarred. I don't know that one.
Scarred, I think.
Okay. And so there's a few that I don't know. There's one I
also
find.
World of Micah or Mika. Is it Micah or Mika? I always fuck it up. It's Micah. I think it's World of Micah. Okay. He's got a good channel too. There's Tampa's a good friend too. Tampa J, he's a good dude. Clearly passionate about what he does. You can tell. Thank you, Randall. Appreciate it. You can tell when people are into it, especially if they do crazy deep cuts. Like. Right. And when it's not the obvious deep cut, like somebody trying to be cool, trying too hard to, like, oh, I'm going real deep with this one, and then not even actually finding anything from the damn movie, or just they suck you in with a good thumbnail or something. Right. But if you go deep and passionate and hard on a film that's rarely seen or known, like like my Trick or Treat episode, suddenly Trick or Treat is getting popular all of a sudden, now that like people they're starting to merchandise and soundtracks are being reissued and a new Blu-ray's coming out. But that's a movie that people didn't care about for years, and I went deep on that, man. I found everything in existence. I went in all the places. Another one that's coming up, and I think I've leaked this a little bit. I did Class in 1984, and that's a favorite of mine, but so many people have no clue what it is. But I went deep on that episode, man. It's going to be a good one. Got into the school. I got into the school and found everything pretty much. So, had to grease the palms of the principal, but it was worth it.
It happens occasionally, but sometimes I enjoy watching movies. Trick or Treat, I saw in the theater, but I didn't remember it. I watched your locations, and they were coming back to me. It also makes me want to revisit certain movies. Your fascination or obsession with Tron. I saw Tron when I was a kid. I don't really remember it that well. Then I'm watching you spend $600 on merchandise and going on rides, and I'm like, maybe I'm missing out. I agree with Sean on most things, so I got to rewatch Tron.
Tron or Tron Legacy, or both. Which one?
I got to do it all. I think I'm when I was a kid, I liked it, but now I want the experience. I want to go on the ride and spend money on stuff that I'm never going to look at again to add to my collection.
I've got a room full of it over there.
Yeah, but his Tron videos are great. A question. Oh, there it is right there. Look at that.
Signed by Garrett Hedlund, who played Sam Flynn in Tron Legacy, and then got to have the variant also.
Of course. Sean, I gotta assume your house is the kind of house where no matter where you walk, you could walk into some memorabilia, right?
Big time. Yeah. You definitely got to visit when you're in Orange County next.
Yes, I definitely want to see it. Around this house, there's pops on this table, and there's monster things over here. And I have these I made a movie for Vivid a long time ago. That's an adult movie, and
Mhm.
I wrote it and directed it, I think. And anyway, there's a scene in the movie where a PA asks Christy Canyon to sign a love doll, and the love doll is in a big can. I wish I could
Mm.
show it to you. It's sitting right here. Well, it was out on my balcony, and Michelle was watching the house while I was out of town, and she goes, I find a lot of interesting things around your house. And the other day she was, I found these Michael Monroe autographs. I go, oh, that's cool. She goes, but then you got this doll in a can, and thank God she knows my. I go, oh, that's autographed. That's autographed. It's memorabilia.
Yeah.
It's memorabilia. Um,
Only partially used.
Partially
Partially
used.
used. Yeah.
But so she didn't think I was any more crazy than usual. But yeah, the house is memorabilia everywhere. I think it's part of our quest to stay young. I missed this question that
I
Chris
saw some people commenting about Trick or Treat and commenting about Fastway. Yeah, obviously Fastway did the whole soundtrack for the film. Sammy Kerr is actually Dave King, the voice of Dave King, which so many people probably have no idea that what's the band he's in now? That
Flogging Molly.
Flogging Molly. That the singer of Flogging Molly is friggin' Sammy Kerr.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Fastway on their first tour, Long Beach Arena, 1983. It was Fastway, Saxon, and Iron Maiden. It was a Peace of Mind tour. And I've always been a big Fastway fan. I'd love to meet Dave King, get him to sign my my Trick or Treat poster, since Tony Fields, who played Sammy Kerr, died shortly after the film.
Yeah.
Solid gold dancer.
Not crazy. Well, Dave King would be great at conventions. I don't know if he's pretty popular.
Yeah, Flogging Molly's a pretty big band.
Yep.
I mean, I'd love to just I'd love to get him an interview with him for the new Blu-ray. I'd love to hear what he has to say about it. It's very interesting to think that they almost got Blackie Lawless to play Sammy Kerr, and he was going to lip sync Dave King, but that's why he turned it down, because he wanted to actually sing the songs. But kind of interesting.
Now he's sitting down and maybe lip syncing. I can't confirm nor that. There is an interview with Blackie Lawless on your channel. Christopher Bell asked the question that I missed. Would we go see Kiss with no original members?
No, I wouldn't. No, I mean, it's bad enough as it is right now. I'll go. I may go to the final show. Who knows? But no. If Gene and Paul are out, I'm definitely out.
Yeah, I feel the same. I don't want to say no for sure, because I wonder if there's some racket that could get me. I wonder if there's somebody who gave me a ticket, or if I'd fall for it. I don't know. But I couldn't imagine it. I really couldn't imagine doing it. Like you said, it's already tough enough to see it.
I'm surprised that Gene didn't talk Nick into taking his spot, But
that's what I sort of wondered, but who knows what's going to happen. While at work, I revisit episodes of The Thing with Two Heads on my headphones, and even if I can't see them, like Christopher Nolan says, it's my comfort food of great laughs. Those are the best compliments you can give somebody who does these kind of YouTube shows. I have a lot of people who tell me they like to listen when they're at work, pass the time.
Well, for the people that do watch The Thing with Two Heads, there is a new episode dropping tomorrow morning.
Oh, nice. So. What about Dario Argento movies? That's a wide open subject and pretty hard to find locations.
Oh, you mean as far as doing them, or what I thought of them?
I'm not sure what they're asking. They might be asking, what do you think of the movies?
I'm not a huge Italian horror fan. I like some of Dario's stuff. There's a few of his films I like. When I was in Italy back in, it was like 2002, I did go to Profondo Rosso. His store. Was extremely disappointed. It was really cheesy and small, and downstairs there's a museum, which was the worst cheesy cornball museum I've ever seen. Hopefully it's gotten better in 20 plus years, but it was, there was like I'm walking down there thinking I'm going to see props from Dario Argento movies, and there's like a Darth Vader statue and a half-size C-3PO next to it. I'm like, what the fuck is this? It was really bad.
Yeah. That's I'm not a giant fan either. I was fortunate. I had a friend who worked at the American Cinematheque and got to meet him and see some of his movies, but not my favorite either.
Now, if I was in Italy again, I would probably do Suspiria, because I like Suspiria. And if I was there already, I would probably plan that out and do that, But
that metal guy wants to see Sean's Kiss memorabilia. I think you're going to have to tune into his channel. It's not right next to him. You
yeah,
maybe could tell us a little bit about it.
no, there's some stuff in here. Let's see.
All
I
right,
mean,
hold
you
on.
can see
Let's show a shot of you.
there's a oh, it's kind of hard. There's an Ace guitar over there somewhere. What am I? That direction. There's some stuff in here, but for the most part, my Kiss stuff is in another room. I have a Kiss section. I've been thinking about doing a dedicated Kiss memorabilia episode. There is an episode where I cover quite a few Kiss items. And it's I call it the collection. The collection with Sean Clark is sort of another little spin-off show I do. I know there was a Kiss pinball episode where I talked about the machines and showed the machines. And when I do that, there was also an episode of my stage used Paul Stanley guitar. So I delve into a lot of the Kiss memorabilia on that. I've wanted to go to John Five's house and shoot an episode with him, just going through his stuff. I've been there a few times, and John's collection makes any Kiss collector want to just give up, because I don't care how hard you try, you're never going to top his collection.
He's been working on it for a long time. He used to stay at hotels under the name Vinnie Vincent. He's definitely a hardcore Kiss collector.
Yeah, no, and the thing is, since he knows all those guys now, he's getting stuff directly from them that are like one of a kind kind of things,
Mm-hmm.
So good luck. He's trying to get something from me. I got the Peter Criss boots from Kiss Meets the Phantom. He's offering me his stage used guitar. He's playing the first guitar he ever played live with crew. It was tempting, but I like those boots. I like them. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'd stay with the boots, but I think it might be a little more historic. No disrespect to John Five. Yeah, but he has elements of his collection, Sean's collection online. You can see it, and there's a good one with you and Grim Life Collective where he picks his favorite items in your collection. I would love to do a tour of my house, but so much stuff is just in random spots. The 8x10 photos, I have thousands of them, but they're just sitting in a tub. I have to find a better way.
You need to get these. I have all mine, like in folders, alphabetized, so you open up and it's Johnny Whitaker,
Yeah, good one.
There it's it's Eric Carr. There you go.
I got a great Johnny Whitaker story, but I can't tell it on the show.
I do too, and I probably couldn't either.
There's so many things, Sean, and I won't keep you all night. You've been here for 2.5 hours. I appreciate it. But there's so many things that have rang a bell. I go, when we talk privately, I'll bring them up. Live to Jam, thank you for the super chat. Without saying Busta Rhymes, what is your most cringe moment of the Halloween franchise? Good question.
Let me think about that while I pee again. Hold on.
Yes. This is why it's good to have someone on who is also a host, because I could run off and pee and Sean can fill the silence. So, and he'll come back with his answer. I hope you guys are enjoying this. My goal has been to do a little bit more than just rock all the time. I'm obviously a fan of horror movies, especially Universal monsters. And so I've always liked to do these things. And Sean has so many stories about the people he's worked with and his Horror's Hollow Grounds. So I hope that you guys enjoy something a little different. That's the goal, is to put other content on this channel. There'll be tour diaries every day as fast as I can edit them. And then I have movie locations that I've been sitting on. One in particular I haven't seen anybody do yet, and I think you guys will enjoy that. So that'll be coming soon. And who knows, maybe we'll get Sean out here to Vegas. Oh, here he is. Hold on. Let's see.
Okay.
Yeah, Sean, we got a deep. We got
moment.
Yo, you got it? Okay, hold on. Let's do it.
Well, I'll give you a few. I mean, it's more like what the fuck were they thinking kind of moments. Number one would be the Myers house in Halloween 5.
Mm-hmm.
Why does it suddenly look like the Munsters house? Then you can go to the Myers house in Halloween 6. Why does it now look completely different, but not like the one from part 1? You could also touch on Josh Hartnett's hair in at Halloween H2O. I mean, there's various things, you know, why they replaced Daniel Harris in Halloween 6. I mean, it took me years to figure out that was the same character. I didn't realize that was supposed to be Jamie Lloyd. It took me a while to figure that out. So there's been some bad decisions. Continuity kind of went out the window.
Yeah.
What was the I saw somebody said what the most cringe moment of Halloween was? Did somebody have an appointment? I started reading it.
They said the whole 90 minutes of tough one to watch. Yeah.
Kind of hard to argue. Yeah.
Which one is Resurrection?
That's the one where they're in the house with the cameras and they're filming it and Busta Rhymes and chicken fried motherfucker or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Bandito saying he spent $1,300 on 2 Cure tickets, so he cannot super chat. Well, you obviously live in a market where scalping is okay because
I got mine in. I got mine in before Robert Smith pulled them out. I dropped $2,000. So. Yeah,
it's I got through the whole Robert Smith Ticketmaster battle. I did good, and I tell you what, Robert Smith, you know, he also keeps T-shirts are $25 and everything is affordable when you go. Maybe not the concessions, but the things that
you know. I get it. And I think it's cool and everything, but we also live in a world where, where if you have the money to spend to buy those better seats, you want to be able to,
That's right. That's true.
So, I mean, it's, come on. I mean, I don't think I've ever in my life when tickets went on sale and got front row in my entire life, I not even close. I mean, I would stay in line overnight as a kid at the Ticketmaster Ticketron place. And when they went on sale, I'm the first guy in fucking line. And they said, okay, it's row 8 and Loge section 23. I'm like, what the fuck? What? And that was in the 80s. Like, how is this happening? Even when I worked at a Music Plus and we had a Ticketmaster there. And, I would, I'm sure this happens a lot at those places too. The employees have first dibs really on the good tickets. And even then we wouldn't get great tickets, and we're in there right the second it goes live,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I enjoy a little resale on tickets. The best tickets I've ever gotten were, StubHub or one of those places. I saw the Rolling Stones for half price in the front row. There's I have tons of those kind of stories. People talking about a CGI mask in H2O.
Yeah, that's terrible. There's one scene because they changed the mask. They shot the whole film with this. They started shooting the film with a Part 6 mask, which I actually own that mask, the one from the movie. And then the director didn't like it, so he changed it to one KMB Studios made. They shot the whole movie with it. They did a test screening. An executive from Dimension said, that's not Michael Myers, hated the mask, made them go back and reshoot all the close-ups with a mask that Stan Winston Studios made. And so if you watch that movie and you see Michael from a distance coming, you can see it's a completely different mask. When he gets up close, it changes. There's 4 different masks in that movie, if you count the CGI one. The reason they did the CGI mask is they couldn't get that actor to come back to reshoot that scene. So they did a CGI mask for the one shot where you see Michael's face, and it looks terrible.
Yeah, that's the story of the mask that you have is great. You can watch a video on Sean's channel about all the masks he has from the Halloween collection. Any more collection videos coming soon, Sean? Perhaps a video on those Lost Boys jackets.
Funny you say that. That video is shot and being edited as we speak by someone that is not me. One of my buddies who shot it asked me to let him edit it because he knows it would take me forever. So I figured, there's, when it comes to the movie location stuff, I'm so particular about angles and getting the things to dissolve, into the other ones. And this kind of thing, it's hard to screw up. So I said, go for it. And I know he's almost finished. So that video, I'm hoping that video is up by Monday.
All right. So that's something to look forward to. That's one I'm interested in as well. And I think a lot of people are. Lost Boys definitely having a resurgence. Every generation rediscovers that movie and loves it. Let's see here. So we're going to wrap up in just a bit because we've almost done 3 hours. I don't know how long you usually do on your live, Sean, but
this is about when I'm tapping out. I'm starting to get hungry.
Hungry. Yeah, hungry is definitely part of doing this. By the end, I'm ready. I'm ready to eat. But a lot of great questions from everybody, and I'm glad to do a little bit of a crossover. People from Sean's channel who've come in, and people from my channel who've checked out Sean's as well. Sean, we got to get you to Vegas, as I was saying, and we got to go to the Punk Rock Museum.
Yeah,
which is really cool. Kiss mini golf. We got to do the Gene Simmons museum. I hear that some of the items from the museum are ending up in these VIP packages. So if we don't get there soon, half the collection could be gone. If you want to check out Sean on YouTube, here's the link in the comments that you can.
Well, the thing with the Kiss Museum, I mean, I haven't seen it, but just based on the stuff I saw in Gene's house on Family Jewels, his museum, which I'm assuming most of that is from there. He really didn't have a lot of the good stuff. It's mostly new stuff. It's mostly stuff from the 90s on, where like myself and John 5, we collect the original makeup era, from first album to Creatures. That's the stuff we collect. Every once in a while I'll see something cool that I buckle and I get, and then I usually later go, what the fuck were you thinking? Why did you buy that? But I'm pretty much a vintage guy, and I'm at the point where I have most of what I've wanted and been looking for. I mean, recently I acquired one of my Grail pieces that I didn't think I'd ever get. I threw down stupid money for, and that was a Kiss record player in the box. I know there's loose ones out there. There's some fake loose ones too. People have faked them. But I have one in the box, and I have a loose one as well. I have a lot of doubles. I don't have a lot of time to move this shit, but I do have a lot of doubles right now of rare items. Eventually I'll get around to getting rid of my extras. So
yeah, that's a big collector problem. Same with me. I have a lot of stuff that at some point needs to go to another home. I've got enough. Matt, yes, you'll be able to listen. This will be archived, so you can watch it later back if you tuned in late. And you can watch it. So thank you so much, Sean. It was fun. I'm glad you came on and chatted. I'd love to have you back another time. People love to talk about horror and rock and roll. Definitely go together. And let's see, I'm just trying to.
Yeah, I'd like to talk more music stuff next time, because I know we have a lot of. You wanted to talk horror. I kind of wanted to talk more music, but that's okay. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it's funny, when we first spoke, I asked you all the questions about conventions and horror, and then you wanted to know about rock and some of the stuff that I do with. One of my favorites, I'll say as we go. Sean has 2 RATT albums signed by Tawny Kitaen, which is pretty rare. I don't see very many. Somebody in one of my tour diaries asked Stephen to sign one. I said, Stephen, look at this. And Stephen signed through Tawny's signature. It wasn't the worst I'd ever seen. Well, Sean, you met Stephen Piercy, and you had him sign one of your records signed by Tawny Kitaen. What happened?
He signed right through her signature. And then he saw what he did. He signed it and he went, "Oh, fuck." And I was like, well, it is what it is, you know. But
This a lot of people are asking if you can get Matthew Lillard at the Silver Screen Con with Skeet.
no. Not, I mean, they asked for him. He can't do it that weekend.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. These people have lives and families and work. And so it's not always possible to put everybody at the same
But
time.
doesn't mean you won't see him at a future Silver Scream.
Yeah. Okay, that is good.
And if you guys don't know what Silver Scream is, it's a convention put on by the band Ice Nine Kills. Spencer Charnas, who's a friend of mine, is a huge horror nerd. And he started a convention last year. It's in Danvers, Massachusetts. He's from that area originally. And they're having their second one this September. Nice. Silver Scream. I don't know if it's silverscream.com, but it's Silver Scream Convention.
I thank everybody for watching. And there's tons of cool conventions. You can see Sean at almost all of them. And I make my way to as many as I get to. I got a list of things. And as soon as I figure out where Steven's playing, I then figure out what I can see and what conventions I get to. Sean, we'll talk soon because I'll see you in California next week.
Yeah, and you never know. You might actually see Steven pop up at a convention eventually.
Yes, that will happen. That is true. Yeah. It's a small world, but
yeah.
Let's see here. People talking about. I went through my records and found the original RATT EP. Unfortunately, my older brother, the hater, wrote on their faces on the back cover and drew a mustache on glasses on Blotzer. Well, he picked the right one.
Hasn't everybody done that? Come on.
I think so. Steven checks every record he signs to see if it's the original. And
mine's the original Time Coast. I have an original pressing, and Tawny signed the front of that one because those are her legs. Mm-hmm. And then my Out of the Cellar is the one he screwed up. So
yeah. Have you met Tommy Lee, Sean?
You know, it's funny. I don't know why you're asking me that, but Tommy was the guy. He was my main influence as a drummer as a kid. When I saw the Livewire video, I was just like, I want to be that guy, you know. And I mean, what a showman and a great drummer. And he was my inspiration. The funny thing is, I've never met him. I did see him, oddly enough, because we talked about this earlier. He was at the 3 from Hell premiere. Rob Zombie's film, and so was Nikki. Something tells me they won't be at Rob's next premiere. But anyhow, I saw Tommy standing in the lobby with his wife, and my girlfriend Nay was like, just go talk to him. And I'm like, no, I don't. This is not the place I want to have a conversation. I'm hoping, and it probably will happen eventually, where I'll get a chance to sit down and actually chat with him. Like maybe if I go see John at an upcoming show and, I get backstage and I have a chance to actually have a real conversation. I didn't want to be like the guy. I hate the quick fan interaction. The people are all around buzzing and you can tell they don't want to be bothered. I see it too often in my business. So I'm just like, you know what? I want my interaction to be pleasant. I'm not going to bother him. So,
yeah, you don't want to have a bad experience. Nothing worse than meeting someone you like and then because of the time and place having a bad experience. Anyway, some of these random questions people come through. Anyway, again, tomorrow, video premiering on your channel, right? Tomorrow's Thing with Two Heads, right, Sean?
Thing with Two Heads, episode 53. No real topic, just kind of just us catching up on things and talking about the stuff we've watched recently and more things that bother us. Get off my lawn nonsense. It's kind of a pointless episode, but if you listen to two old men ramble, it's great.
Yeah, I think that's what I think who doesn't like listening to two old men ramble? We've
I'm
proven
really bummed that Johnny's not here, because this whole episode, Johnny could have been walking around his house with his phone. He could have been making his dinner. He could have been eating and grunting and mumbling to himself. That's
I never know how people will react when Johnny's on. He's not a horror movie expert, although he watches Fenguli every week for the last 40 years, so he knows his share. But sometimes if there's a guest on that he doesn't know much about, he will do all the things you just said, make his dinner.
and I completely anticipated that to be the case if he was on tonight. He would have been walking around, and he would have been talking to himself, mumbling and then eating and pulling stuff out of the fridge,
or inviting strange people. And I don't know if you saw it 2 weeks ago, we did a live show, and a woman knocked on his door because there was some kind of leak through the ceiling. And within 1 minute, this attractive woman, Vanessa, is in his bathroom with him while he's holding a camera doing the podcast. Anything could happen in his wacky world. Next time you come back, we'll talk nothing but music. The audience already knows the movie stuff. We'll talk music, and Johnny will cook and do other things.
We could talk horror too, but we can talk music and horror. It's fine.
It's a good mix. Anyway, Sean, thank you so much. Everyone tune in to Malfunsean. The link is in the description, and all his other projects. And we'll see you again very soon.
I'll see you on Tuesday.
Yes, Tuesday. All right. Like, comment, subscribe to both our channels, and